The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
With a capacity of 30,000 and known as the fastest short track on the planet, Iowa Speedway plays host to round number 13 of the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA. It's the Ghostface Brewing 199 here on your home for live sim racing LSRTV. About to get on-track action kicked off, but before we do, we'll bring you inside the LSRTV virtual booth. By way of our producer, Brett Wheeler, I'm David Schildhaus. Joined alongside, as always, by Rachel Whiteford and Justin Prince. And Rachel, we're here for some short track racing action. The Midwest Regional continues here at Iowa. Last week, a dramatic fuel-saving win for Spencer Preet. Tonight, back to the short tracks we go. What do you think we'll see out of Spencer Preet? Can we stop writing him off finally, or is this going to be the week he trips up?
You know, it's going to be one of those difficult nights, but, you know, like a ear of corn, Spencer Preet has so many of those little things. I don't even know what we're going to call them. Do we call them, I don't know. Somebody probably knows. But either way, Spencer Preet is like an ear of corn. There are so many little bits to him. And he always seems to bring out one that surprises us. And there's always one left you never recalled eating. But Preet is an incredible driver, and he is very talented. Starting at the back today is going to be interesting for him. But you know what? I think he could definitely show what he can do. He has to pull a Kyle Busch here to try and do it, but at the same time, he's going to make this race interesting regardless of whether he wins or not, and that's what we look forward to seeing, and we want to see on the racetrack. Can Ward and Cozy close him out? Could be their night. We'll have to find out, because you know what? One thing we've learned from this series, we can't predict anything. We get it wrong every time, because these guys always surprise us.
Absolutely, Justin. I'll get your thoughts here in just a sec, but tracks got cars on it, so we'll take a look at your LSRTV starting lineup before we get going here for the formation lap. Man on the pole, bring him to the green flag here tonight, will be your overall points leader with driving the number 9 tonight. That is Jeff Ward. To his outside, just like last week, Michael Cozy Jr. in the 99. Inside, row number 2 will be the number 7, Mike Montesi. Kyle Vincent Gilbert will be to his outside. Chris Berg will roll off from 5th. Brian McRae in 6th. Aiden Patterson, 7th, John Johnson, 8th, Taylor Butcher Benjamin in 9th, and Mark Arthur will round out the top 10.
So anyway, row number 6 is Matt Ridgway with Jonathan Smith on his outside, with row number 7 being Ryan Wash and Jacob Sayers. Row number 8, Jay Graves Jr. with Zachary Sprung. Row number 9, David Netzel and Arnold Thompson, with row number 10 being Jason Anderson and Jesse Ewell.
Awuji, yes indeed, making an appearance tonight in the AR-1576 for a special start, but right behind them is going to be Wally Wilson and Mark Goyne in 21st and 22nd, the final drivers to record times. Justin Bolton, Spencer Preet, Ashton Swiss, Derek Paulson, Steve Ritter, Doug Johnson, Fred Thompson, and Jason Taylor. The drivers not to record times. Doug Johnson taking the end of longest line as well for tonight's race. 30 drivers ready to take the green flag tonight, David.
Absolutely. That's a special guest there in the 76, Jesse Awuji. You may recognize the name of K&N Pro Series, Gander Outworld Truck Series, Origins, making his first start here tonight in the SESRA Series. So excited to see him, see how he gets along in his first start. Give you some quick track facts. Iowa Speedway is a .875 in length, variable banking in the turns, ranging from 12 to 14 degrees, front stretch banked at 10 degrees, and the backstretch at a paltry 4 degrees of banking. We are set to go for 227 laps, makes up the 199-mile distance here, and as always, a great turnout, and they're ready to see some great quality short track racing action. Pace car makes the hard left-hand turn. Field is in the hands of Jeff Ward, looking for the green flag. There it is. They are down and away, and it is Jeff Ward and Michael Cozy Jr. will lead the field down into turn 1 for the first time.
Good start there, of course. Cozy getting a slightly better run on the top side, but not good enough to actually beat out the number 9 of Jeff Ward, who gets up in front of him there. But behind him, everyone trying to find that single file line. And one thing we have to remember, turns 3 and 4 definitely have variable banking, which allows there to be 2 separate grooves, and that's one of the most important things to remember there. Turn 1 and 2, fairly similar for most cars. There is some variation, but 1 and 2 is not matched by 3 and 4, which just has so many options for the drivers to take. We'll see a lot of racing there tonight. It's the one to keep our eyes on, and the field further back is massive as the cars shooting through, and the 76 car there, I believe that was the Rashida Wuji, sorry, getting straight through a 3 wide there, entering 3 and 4. He's already on the move forwards.
As is the man driving the 00, Spencer Preet, as we expected to see, knifing through the field left and right, following Jesse Iwuji on through, put Preet all the way up to the 19th position here on the 3rd lap of the event, following that 76 as well. So one storyline to keep an eye on there. JP, Spencer Preet starting in the back, making things exciting. But out front, no change. Jeff Ward is the leader. Michael Cozy Jr. slots into 2nd. Kyle Vincent Gilbert 3rd. Chris Berg up to 4th, and Mike Montesi rounds out the top 5. And you look at the Iowa Speedway with that variable banking. Tell the fans at home watching here how that variable banking works and where these drivers are going to look to run their race cars to get the best lap times.
Well, with go ahead,
sorry,
Rachel.
Jason, go ahead.
I was going to say with the variable banking, it basically means with the different levels that you have, of course, there's different degrees of banking, so to speak, with the different sorts of banking, meaning you can get faster speeds on the different lines. Some drivers were in practice were running the first line, running all the way around the yellow line. Some drivers running the middle line, others diamonding off the corner, others sometimes will actually run all the way against the fence here at a track like Iowa here at the nighttime. So it's about driver preference and where we're going to see a lot of comers and goers, because it's going to come down to tire management as well as if you can keep a consistent run through the lines. The main thing to note is there could be with a lot of these drivers coming from the back and guys like Preet dicing their way forward in turn 4. If you push up, you push the driver above you straight into the wall, that could cause a lot of cautions tonight, as we're already 7 laps into this race here, David.
And Rachel, pivoting off of that, they got 2 sets of tires in the pits and the set that they started the race with. So 3 total sets, but 2 fresh sets of tires for the tire allotment rule here tonight at Iowa. So they'll be working their strategy around that. And from your experience out here on the sim, the high side, the best place to be for these cars that are so dependent on momentum, or are we going to see some guys try and work that bottom as well?
I really think it is, and the higher side of 3 and 4 is my preferred line through this corner, but you're coming in high about to the end of turn 3 and then diving down off it with turn 4, kind of going low for the turn 4 line then. That's my personal choice, but some guys will hold it high the whole way through. Some guys like to take it down low in 3 and 4 and get all the way down to the bottom there and actually get the car around. I don't find that as good for momentum. In the trucks, it's great. The A cars, things that rotate, the bottom line is good. That kind of 3 high, 4 down is probably the best for these cars. We've got some 2 wide racing further forwards here. As cars moving through the field.
And that's Michael Cozy Jr. having a look at Jeff Ward trying to get the lead away. We talked about last week a number of times Michael Cozy Jr. Doesn't have any wins to his credit just yet on the season. And seemingly every week, Justin, we say, oh, this could be the week, this could be the week. And last week looked to be really good for him, but the fuel mileage didn't go his way here tonight at Iowa. Already a very good pace for that 99, but very game Jeff Ward there in front of him, not willing to relent.
Yeah, and just before this race, he had said on his stream on WinVal8820 that he feels this is one of his best shots left on the schedule to try and get a victory this season. He was the fastest in practice. He was running in the 5s the second he got on the racetrack a majority of his runs throughout practice. It's just a matter of trying to find a way to get by a driver like Jeff Ward, because he is running the defensive line, you see, matching Cozy Jr.'s line, but look right behind him. Gilbert taking advantage of that second line to make a pass just now on Chris Berg. So now drivers are continuously either trying to match the drivers around them for defensive lines or trying to use different lines to try and get different runs off the corner exit to set up the pass.
That seems to be one of the biggest draws of the Iowa Speedway, both here on the iRacing service and in real life as well, as Berg will go back around the top side of KVG there down the back straightaway. And Rachel, that's for a race car driver, what more could you ask for than a lot of different options? Options are a great thing, a lot of different lanes to pass. Last week at Kansas, we didn't really see that. It was really a one-groove racetrack. Here at Iowa, definitely not the case. So for guys trying to set up their strategy coming into tonight, they got to consider all those variables.
Absolutely, and this is one of those tracks where variables are very, very, very important, because this is the sort of track that really doesn't give you a second chance. Preet, though, look at this guy. He's moving straight up to the field, passing the 21 car now. Zachary Sprung down low there through 3 and 4, so it's a good passing groove when you've got tyres on the car, but at the same time, while it's faster early on in the run, it's not as fast later on, and you'll see these guys moving up the track there, but it does mean you'll burn your tyres early, so Preet's perhaps hoping for a caution, or at least to get through as much traffic as he can before he stalls out, because those tyres are going to wear out quickly with the way he's attacking.
Looking a little bit further back in the field, a name that we haven't talked about yet to this point, but I'm sure we will before it's all said and done, is Justin Bolton in the number 11. Last time we saw him was a couple weeks ago at the Brickyard, where he finished second to Spencer Preet in a very close finish. He just worked his way around Jesse Iwuji up into that 16th spot. And Justin, you know Justin Bolton. We've seen him many, many times here and in other places as well. A lot of pace in that 11. We've seen him have a lot of strength. He's got a win to his name here too. So started back a little bit deeper in the field than he probably wanted as we go on board with him, looking out front at the number 86 of Jay Graves Jr. and the 21 of Zachary Sprung. What do you think we're going to see out of Bolton here tonight?
I think we're going to see Bolton potentially up at least in the top 5 in the next 20, 30 laps if we stay green, because he's running that line that was talked about right down to the yellow line to a T. While he does lose momentum on the corner exits, because you're able to get as deep as a driver like Bolton, have the talent to be able to run down there without burning up the tires too much, it just gets so much more speed through the entry and apex. So I wouldn't be surprised that as long as he can get by drivers, especially when these corner exits we're seeing, he's in a decent shape to be at least a top 5 driver tonight.
That would be my expectation as well. Justin Bolton, certainly no slouch here on the service, but still a long way to go as he currently sits in that 14th position, about 8.5 seconds back from the leader right now. Spencer Preet up to 11th, trying to figure out a way to get past. That's the 23 of Jonathan Smith will be his next target as he works through the field. But looking, Mike Montesi holding on to that 5th spot, trying to get around. Kyle Vincent Gilbert had to fall back just ever so slightly, but a nice run for Montesi in the 7th. He's been kind of quiet over the past few weeks, but seemingly taken to Iowa Speedway with a lot of regard.
Certainly has, and it's a very difficult track, this one. If the best way I can describe it to the viewers is this track races like Michigan. Michigan is a D shape like this track, and unlike a lot of the tracks where you do tend to have a kind of a rough D shape, because of how the banking varies in the corner and how steep it is compared to the corner length, I should say, you have a tight turn 2 and a tight turn 3, wider turns 4 and 1. As Preet's now getting involved here with the 24 to 35, Brian McRae just up ahead of him now. But that D shape means you're having to enter corners differently. You're having to basically get a tighter exit out of 2 and a tighter entry into 3. So it races like Michigan in terms of the line you have to take, and that's actually quite a big variability. Autoclub's a bit too smooth. Michigan's what I'd compare more because of it feels tighter with the surface, but as Preet there running too wide to out the corner, trying to get past the number 8 machine there, Butcher Benjamin trying to do his best, can't quite make it happen yet. Even diving down low there in 1 and 2, but it's very unusual how you have to run these lines. You're having to take a very late entry, if anything, to the wide turn 1 to get that tight entry out of turn 2, so the car's apexing later. Because if you apex too early, you're going to run up wide and hit the wall on the outside, which is a common mistake we see from guys. They apex too soon, they hit that outside wall. With turn 3 and 4, you're wanting to apex really, really early, so you can run out very wide and maintain speed. So it's the late apex and the early apex varying from those corners, as Preet just takes out the 35 and the 8.
Yeah, nice job there. Put Spencer Preet up to 7th as he continues his march through the field, but a look out front, and that's changed hands as Butcher Benjamin's up into the wall. Everybody squeaks by. Michael Cozy Jr. has taken the lead away from Jeff Ward and has jumped out to about a 7/10 of a second lead himself, so put the 99 out front and Ward back to 2nd. And once again, Michael Cozy Jr. setting himself up for a great run here tonight at Iowa. And Justin, if I know Michael Cozy Jr., he's got to be feeling good about the way he's been running lately, but without a win to sort of validate all that, what does he really have other than good points?
At this point, if you want, of course, continue to get points, because you got to remember the overall championship is separated by just 2 points between Ward and Preet at the moment. If we can go back to where Bolton is, it looks like he's in the mix of a hornet's nest, pardon me, to try to direct that way, because he's cutting his way through absolute intense traffic. This is kind of not the packs you want to see if you are at a track like Iowa, known to potentially cause incidents. But if you can get through cleanly, it can make a huge advantage. 1 second gained every couple of laps overall because of everyone holding each other up in the traffic, pardon me, David.
That was an absolute gaggle I was keeping my eyes on. I wanted to bring your attention to it as well, as Bolton was working his way through. They were 3 wide with Jonathan Smith, John Johnson, Brian McRae, Butcher Benjamin, Aiden Patterson there, as well as Bolton got past all those guys. So Bolton now up to the 9th position. Ryan Wash there in front of him. He'll be the next car he'll be trying to work his way past. But I think that's to the credit of this racetrack and why race car drivers love coming here, Rachel, is that you have opportunities to get around guys. You can run 2 wide, you can run 3 wide, and you're not really in each other's way if you're in the groove that you like running. And so you can sort of run in these packs, everyone assigned to their lane if that's where they want to be, and you're not all over each other.
Well, I don't know if you can say that about Iowa. It's a fairly tight track, and the lanes do tend to cross themselves somewhat, as it can get very small very quickly. Especially when you're driving things like Indy cars around his place, where it becomes insane. But with the Xfinity cars, I honestly don't like this track hugely as a driver, because with its size and how tight it is, like a mini Michigan, or minigun, we can call it, it feels congested because of its size, and when a wreck happens, it's going to be big. Although turn 2 is fairly self-cleaning with the backstretch, the tarmac, I should say, on the inside, going straight to a wall means cars can ricochet back up again. Off 4, not really. They'll hit the wall, they'll tend to go down the track, so it does vary, but it feels very bad on old tracks, and that's one of the worst places to race on old tracks is here at Iowa. These guys will discover that later.
Certainly, I know if I had $1 for every time that I drove a corner wrong here at this racetrack, I could probably retire by now. It's not a place I would ever get around with any great success, but Michael Cozy Jr. starts to creep up on the back part of this field as he'll look at the back bumper of Fred Thompson in number 46 and put him a lap down, and a look ahead at guys like Jason Anderson, Jason Taylor, Doug Johnson, Wally Wilson, as guys looking to be out the back of this lead pack here on lap number 33. So Michael Cozy Jr. making great time. Jeff Ward hasn't fallen off by a whole stretch. Actually, he's closed up just under a half a second now as they get into this traffic. But now we've seen over the past couple weeks, JP, the leader get into traffic and something terrible happen that wipes out the leader. It sort of seems to be the bad places out front, and Michael Cozy Jr.'s got to tiptoe his way through these guys.
Yeah, and it can lose a driver a ton of time if you can't get to the traffic quickly and cleanly, as you talked about. And the way at a track like Iowa, it's not as easy because depending on the drivers, some drivers run the high side to allow them by, some stay right to the bottom side. So you got to make sure you know which driver you have to try and manage, as Cozy Jr. nearly hit the left rear door of Doug Johnson trying to avoid his backside, as Jeff Ward still gaining little bits of time here and there because of how much Cozy Jr. just got held up by that group of 4 cars.
And speaking of Jeff Ward, not only did he win the pole here tonight, but he won himself a little bit of an award, and thanks largely in part to V2 Design. V2 Design has partnered with SESRA for the remainder of the Dr. Squatch Pro Series to provide a free paint scheme to each week's pole winner. Victor over at V2 Designs is proud to share his artistic talent with the fastest driver each and every week here in the SESRA Series, so congratulations to Jeff Ward here this week. He'll be receiving a complimentary paint scheme. And we have our first caution flag of the night. JP, what do you see?
Arnold Thompson getting spun about 45, 50-degree angle in the corner. He was in 29th, and this was where the lap traffic management comes in. John Johnson reached right to his back bumper on the entrance of turn 1. Didn't expect him to check up on the brakes too early. Ran into his left rear and ends up sending him sideways just enough to trigger the caution. No one else involved in the incident, but this shakes things up just on lap 37. With including the sets of tires on the cars, you can have a total of 3 for the race. That is 2 sets of tires you can use during your pit stops. That can make things interesting with a 227 lap race if we even see drivers this early go in the pits, and as you can see, we do not yet up front.
Yeah, strikes me as a little early still if you're saying we got 2 pit stops to get this thing done with tires. 227 lap race definitely would be a little bit on the early side for me. But yeah, just looking back at that incident, looks like Arnold Thompson started to turn in for the entry there. Without the best line in mind, as John Johnson was definitely there in the 24. So just sort of innocent byproduct of short track racing, and really no worse for the wear as the 66. Pretty lucky when you get turned and you're looking at the inside fence like that, Rachel, to not hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those awkward places for it. So, an unfortunate incident, but it's racing here at Iowa, and we get a restart. 38 lap old tires. Yeah, this will be interesting.
To say the least, it definitely should be. And restarts this year, for the most part, have been entertaining. They've been fairly clean, but yeah, when you got 38, 39 lap tires and you try and put the power down, these cars will definitely fight you on that. And so there could be a little bit of drama coming our way here before too long on this restart. The guys that treat that throttle pedal nicely are generally the ones that are going to get away clean. But I'll be interested to see, Justin, where does Michael Cozy Jr. elect to restart from, the top side or the bottom side? If you're the driver of the 99, which lane are you choosing?
I kind of wouldn't be surprised to see him on the bottom, because on the bottom, of course, you have control of the restart, and that's where a majority of the race he's been running so far. If he chooses the high side, that would be a case where he thinks that he cannot defend as well with Jeff Ward, because you got to remember, you can carry more speed on the middle line, especially on some of these restarts, depending on if you can time it up the right way. So it's a 50-50. I would honestly elect to take the bottom in this situation. We'll have to see what Cozy Jr. elects to do himself, though, because that could be the main thing on how this restart goes, especially with these two cars so good up at the front and so having the fastest pace overall by far so far.
That's sort of the luxury that you're afforded when you have a great pace like Cozy Jr. and Jeff Ward is. You sort of pick whatever you want to, knowing that even if you choose wrong, you probably don't stand to lose a whole bunch. But we'll take this opportunity to step aside real quick, get in a plug from the series sponsor, Dr. Squatch, and we'll be back in time for the restart. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA right here on LSRTV.
Listen up. The soap you shower with, it's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. They're still using whatever bar their mommy bought for her little man. Is that what you want? To smell like mama's little man? Ugh. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. Or don't, and continue to be mommy's little helper. During the First World War, big soap started taking out all the natural ingredients to make production cheaper and faster. And they replaced all the natural stuff with chemicals. Chemicals like sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, and dioxane. Chemicals linked to depression, liver damage, cancer, and low sperm count. And worst of all, dry skin. Oh. Your poor balls, all dry, empty, and sad. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
This brought
I'm back here live from the Iowa Speedway for the Ghostface Brewing 199. Race number 13 of the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA. Just completing our first caution period, and Michael Cozy Jr. has elected the outside, getting ready to come back to the green flag here. So big break for guys like Spencer Preet and Justin Bolton. They got to claim a whole bunch of time back on these guys. That puts them within shouting distance of the lead, but the pace car is off and the field is underway once again. Michael Cozy Jr., nice restart there. Gets out by a couple of car lengths over Jeff Ward down to turn one. They'll get to single file. Kyle Vincent Gilbert there in third. And then Preet on the outside. Oh, big bump from KVG to the back of the 9. That's going to stack him up just a little bit. And give a call to Chris Berg in the 91 as well, doing a great job.
Yeah, absolutely, and the big stack there is Preet. Look at this already. He's in fourth place, although it's third now, as he gets ahead there. Kyle Vincent Gilbert, as it's nearly going to be 3 wide there, as the 91 looked for an opportunity. Berg looking for a chance. The 1, Ryan Wash trying to find a way around here. Levin and Bolton also looking for an opening. There's been some big movement from these guys, and they're showing real speed here tonight. I'm really impressed with what they're doing with this one. And the restart's been cleaner than I expected. These guys actually managed to find room and give room, and that's, again, something I shouldn't be surprised about, really, because these guys in SESRA are some of the cleanest drivers I've seen.
And they continue to impress week after week. Very minimal yellow flag periods in this series. A lot of clean racing, and yeah, Spencer Preet, like he was shot out of a cannon on the high side there, already up to the 3rd spot and closing in, much like we've seen him week after week. I guess that's why he has so many wins to his credit, and everybody's seemingly chasing him. Didn't really talk about at the top of the show, but coming into tonight, he did manage to close the gap down on Jeff Ward in the overall season points championship just to 2 points. So things are definitely tightening up as Preet continues to rack up the wins. But for him, the unfortunate part, JP, is that, well, Jeff Ward keeps finishing 2nd or 3rd, so he's not able to gain that many points every week.
Yeah, that makes it extremely difficult as Preet just tapped the right side of the wall, as he's now gotten a little bit of damage on the right front, on top of some damage on the front from moving his way through the field. But to get to your point, it makes it very difficult, and where you have to win, basically be at your A game every single week. You have to be at the front. You can't afford to go to the back. And right now, for him to keep on trying to keep up with the top 2, he's going to need to see this battle keep up with Cozy Jr. up in front of him with Jeff Ward. Because right now, Cozy Jr. blocking the bottom side. Ward trying to go as high as all the way near the wall to try and get any sort of run to try and get past him to try and get the lead on back, as you see the difference in everyone's lines.
Using that high side, Jeff Ford gets a great run down these straightaways. A lot of momentum. You see him visibly close the gap down the front straightaway to the back of the 00, but once they get to the corner, everything sort of equals out, if you will. Door-to-door here, Mike Montesi inside of Kyle Vincent Gilbert for about the 7th position there. They were beaten and banging, and a little bit more contact down the back straightaways. Montesi just trying to stay out of the way and use that bottom side, but seemingly like a magnet between these two cars, Rachel. They can't get away.
No, absolutely not. They just find themselves all over the same part of the racetrack here as they come around Iowa. It's one of those places where you are forced into the same spot, and makes things a little bit interesting there as Butcher Benjamin gets a good run here on Kyle Vincent Gilbert in the 227 on the low side. But watch this. Vincent Gilbert will get a good run. Or not, to prove me wrong immediately. No. There you go. Just a faster car there in the 8 right now of Butcher Benjamin as he comes up now behind Chris Berg on the front stretch. And car's moving forwards.
Definitely on the move as everybody's sort of single file for the most part here. Is Butcher Benjamin around the outside of Chris Berg in the 91 there, so put Butcher Benjamin up to 6th. And talk about Taylor, he had himself a really good run last week at Kansas, and I think with about 10 laps to go or so, ended up in the outside fence and ended up losing the engine. So that put a top 10 run to bed early for him, but seemingly bouncing back pretty nicely here, Justin.
Yeah, he is bouncing back well so far. Has been running some pretty consistent laps, pretty clean runs so far, I should say, other than some right front damage. So he's got a good pace. It's just a matter of, can he keep up said pace? The one thing I want to keep in mind for both of you guys, though, is he was one of the drivers who ducked down in the pits, although it was just a 5-second pit stop. So that means he did not take tires during said stop. So he's maybe expecting to maybe go for the long haul in this race and try and think of the strategy in this kind of a case here. Again, just took Pierre's fuel for 5 seconds in the pits as he goes to the inside of Bolton.
Well, we saw a very early stop for gas pay big dividends for Spencer Preet last week at Kansas, so maybe Taylor Butcher Benjamin jotted that down into his notebook of things to try out here as he works his way around Justin Bolton, is taking a look at Ryan Wash as well. So definitely the 8 on the move forward here. Great run in this stint right now as he gets past that Specialized sponsored number 1 of Ryan Wash. So Taylor Butcher Benjamin asserting himself here up to 4th, Rachel.
And he's moving up here on Preet, so maybe Preet has burned up his tyres after that massive run through the field from the start. 24th to 3rd. Look at this. Look at the overspeed for Butcher Benjamin. Flying up on Preet here. Flying up on your leaders. So that 8 car is absolutely on this thing tonight. I'm impressed with his performance. He's not really been a driver that's got into the front so much in these races. So seeing him potentially get up here and challenge the likes of Ward and Cozy is huge. As he's going to make the move now in turns 2. Keeps it low enough. Gives him a good run, though. Still going to be alongside the 00 here of Spencer Preet now as they turn into turns 3 and 4. That low side helps. He's going to drift up, but he's got the line to do it. A slide job there by the 8. secures third place.
Great job by Taylor Butcher Benjamin, giving a great account for himself here in the early going at Iowa, up to third, and absolutely working it through the field. He's sawing away on the steering wheel, doing a great job, and just a lot of pace out of him there, maybe inspired by that heartbreaking DNF that he had at Kansas 1 week ago, putting down fantastic lap times. It's almost like taking fuel made the car faster, Justin. Is that even possible?
Depends, too, if, say, maybe he did a spring adjustment, maybe you had the ability to do a spring adjustment, I'm not quite sure. But sometimes it's just you get into a good rhythm, or you're able to save the tires mainly, because a lot of drivers do that in case there's for the long haul where they save tires at tracks like this to help them for this kind of a case. As look at the battle for the lead. Ward gets the run on Cozy, and now Jeff Ward's in the lead, takes the race lead, and here comes Butcher Benjamin also, and now we got a 3-car scrap for the race lead here, David.
Might be going 3 wide here to top it off. Cozy Jr. fights back on the low side as they go into 3, and Butcher Benjamin looks on. I think he's going to try and follow the 99 through. He just seems to be getting such a great run on the bottom side. Look at the run by Ward. So you got the 9, the 99, and the 8 all together here. Throw a blanket over him for the top 3. And, you know, for Butcher Benjamin here, he's got to think, boy, I'm up racing against some of the best in the business. They got a car spinning in front of him. Look out. That's going to bring out a yellow flag. That's the 66 once again, right in front of the leaders. Arnold Thompson, a lot of struggles there. Luckily, everybody's able to get through without further incident. But, boy, that's a heart-stopping moment right there, Rach.
Yeah, that was incredibly close there. As I've got my spotter pack yelling in my ears because that's apparently still on. And yeah, so either way, as even more radio traffic, that's hilarious. As no, Butcher Benjamin second place now, incredible. He managed to get past Cozy Jr. there right at the end of that. The caution itself was unfortunate, but you see how it happens. Bouncing off the wall in turn 2, hits that wall on the inside because of the asphalt interior there, rather than grass to slow cars down. Comes straight back up again, and it could nearly have been catastrophic. But Butcher Benjamin, maybe a risky move to try and keep going for the move there, rather than get off and avoid the crash potentially.
That was a big hit into the inside wall for Thompson there. All 4 tires coming off the ground. Those are the sort of hits that make you glad it's just a sim and not real life. But, you know, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, I'll keep highlighting this. He has done something that not a lot of people have done yet this season, Justin, and that's pass Spencer Preet. Pretty impressive. And then to go up and pass Michael Cozy Jr., setting himself up to pass Jeff Ward as well. A lot of pace, some new life in that number 8 here tonight.
I think it was the case maybe during the first part of the run. Remember, the 8 started off in the top 10, had been relatively calm for the most part. Just the case of saving tires for the long haul and hoping that there was a long run in that case. And it worked to his benefit, I think, after that first restart because of how much he potentially saved. He was 0.3 faster in open space compared to most of the drivers on the track, still in the 23-second range. So, but saving the tires and also topping off on the fuel might have just potentially worked to his benefit and to his strategy for this race. The big question, though, is now they're re-bunched up. Can he try and make a run on Jeff Ward now that everyone's bunched back up? That's going to be the question. But should note, some of the big runners are now have already ducked into the pits, including Justin Bolton and Chris Berg, David.
Yeah, good eye there. I was just taking a look at it. If you take this race, 227 laps, and you got 3 sets of tires, I would say about every 75 laps would optimize the tire life, if you will. So about every 75 laps or so, and fuel should match that or exceed that. But Justin Bolton deciding to come down here on about lap 60 to take his first turn at service, joined by the likes of Mark Arthur, Brian McRae, Wally Wilson, Chris Berg, Ashton Schleiss, John Johnson, Doug Johnson as well, and Jason Taylor, who got the wave around. And so he'll get back on the lead lap as well. So he'll take his service too. So you know, so a handful of guys electing to take their first round of service here, Rachel. Do you think that's a little premature? Now they have to set up for a longer middle stint.
Absolutely, and I think the middle stint's going to be the critical part of this race. They have to make sure they're in the right state of mind, really, to get through with this one. And a lot of the field now have got a chance to reset this thing and get themselves moving forwards. We're at a good window, so it's going to be about trying to find how they can make this race relevant to them.
Light still on atop the iRacing.com pace car, so we'll continue under our second yellow flag here. But sort of reset the field for you. It'll be Jeff Ward out front, Taylor Butcher Benjamin in second, Michael Cozy Jr., Spencer Preet, Ryan Wash round out the top 5. We'll give a call to Ryan Wash in the number 1 as well. He started up front. He's stayed up front throughout this whole race. We've seen him have some good runs over the past few weeks. Sort of faded through those runs, hasn't necessarily gotten the finishes that he was hoping for, but given a great account for himself here at Iowa, Justin, and doing a nice job in the number 1.
Absolutely doing a good job so far in this one, so it's just a matter of keeping on going forward because he's at a good pace. He's up there right now, in fact, around the top 5 in the fastest drivers in the hot laps, and has been setting an average good pace. While he's also tapped the wall at one point, everyone else has basically tapped the wall, so it's just a matter now that this is going to be a second restart for most of these drivers on this set of tires. You gotta think there's still a lot of drivers with a lot of fuel in these cars. You gotta start saving and think of the big picture here from here on out, because there's still a ways to go in this run, especially if it goes green.
Going green is what we are getting set to do as the lights have extinguished atop the pace car, signaling 1 lap to go. So we'll get set for a restart here. Do want to make a quick mention as well that there is some money on the line here. First place will take home $15 here tonight. Second place will be awarded $10, and third place will get $5. So $30 up on the line as a purse here tonight for the top 3. The winner taking 15 of it. So a nice little extra incentive, as if race car drivers need any extra incentive to win or place on the podium. But nonetheless, very nice gesture there. So somebody will be walking out of here $15, $10, and $5 richer, respectively, on the scoring pylon. Pace car is off, getting ready for the restart here. Jeff Ward on the gas and pulls away. Great restart there. I don't think Butcher Benjamin was ready for that, as Jeff Ward will clear him by about 5 car lengths going into turn 1.
Yeah, great start there by Jeff Ward. Look at this, Butcher Benjamin flying here. Preet as well, going to make a big move on Cozy. The tyres, I think, are going to be a big factor for that one, but Cozy looking like he's dropping back here as a high line there by Preet, taking advantage there of a better momentum for him and the run down towards turn 1 and 2. You'll see how easily he passed him there, but can he take back Butcher Benjamin?
All eyes on the number 8 here as he continues his assault now under the green flag, looking to match pace with Jeff Ward there. Not a lot of pressure from behind as Preet got a little out of shape off of 2. And now here he goes down to the bottom of the racetrack. Jeff Ward up top side by side for the lead here through 3 and 4. Jeff Ward will use the momentum up top and hold on to start lap 67. But make no doubt about it, Justin, that Taylor Butcher Benjamin is there and he's for real.
Yes, and he's got the pace to potentially try and take the lead in this race. It's just a matter of, can he get it underneath Ward and take away an opportunity from him, because Ward knows that. I think that some of the drivers behind him are starting to pick up the pace. The thing is, as you mentioned, the momentum on that high side gets you at least 3 car lengths away on the corner exit, depending on if you take the corner the right way. If he keeps on doing it and keeps pushing Butcher Benjamin to keep on wearing out his tires, or by trying to pass him, then he's going to play right into his hands. Butcher Benjamin could potentially fade on back, and Ward would end up have the potential to pull away. So that's, I think, what he's potentially hoping is wear out Butcher Benjamin's tires.
I like what Taylor's doing here. He's sort of riding in behind Jeff Ward in the middle of the groove, and then just sort of letting the car float to the bottom on corner exit and trying to drive off as straight as possible. So he's not necessarily abusing that right front, trying to keep that tighter radius on the bottom all the way through the corner, Rachel. He's sort of just letting it roll down to the bottom midway through and just standing on the gas. Jeff Ward is just absolutely resigned to the middle and top side. So I like the strategy of the 8 there. What do you think?
It's a good line, and it's definitely giving him a lot of speed here. Look at this up on Jeff Ward now. And if you've got the car that's going to do it for you, look at that, it just blasts past Ward. Butcher Benjamin's car is just rotating nicely, and it's sitting down in the corner. For those of you who've driven cars in the sim, it's that feeling when you get into a corner and the car feels tight, then it turns. That's what I mean by sitting down in the corner. It's rotated, and it's got that momentum through the corner that it's got to the point now where it will go. And you can comfortably put the gas down. You can feel it. You can feel it in the wheel, where you can just now start unwinding that steering and applying power. And the car goes, and Butcher Benjamin's is doing that perfectly. He's just got his line nailed. He knows exactly where he's putting it, and he's flying with this thing. This could be an outsider for this one.
Well, taking a look at a guy that took tires on that stop, Justin Bolton, he is flying through the field. He's already up to the 4th position And those new tires are worth about 3 to 4/10 of a second a lap, Justin. You were pulling on my shirt saying, look at the 11 go. Look at him. He's fighting Preet for third now. I don't even think that's going to be a fight.
Yeah, this is not going to be a fight by far right now because it's at least a half a second difference minimum in traffic, mind you, with the fresher tires compared to the older tires that just about everyone except for about 6 drivers have in this case. So Justin Bolton, while this might not help him in the long run strategy because if there's an air caution, I wouldn't be surprised to see everyone else duck in. If this stays green, it's going to get interesting how he tries to play this out because the fresh is tough. Because we've seen a similar case with the last race with Preet, where he had to pit for early damage, had fresher tires and fuel, mind you, to get into a one-stop situation. Bolton, if depending on how things play out, could play in his hands. And right now, no one's even going to hold up a fight knowing that he's on these 60-plus lap pressure tires, David. No way.
No, none at all. He's already dispatched Jeff Ward and will set his sights on Taylor Butcher Benjamin, who's sort of drifted up the racetrack just a little bit on entry and now swinging it back down to the bottom to compensate for being out front. So again, we're in this situation, Rachel, where it's the race within the race. Guys on different strategies now where Taylor Butcher Benjamin can't concern himself with Justin Bolton because it's completely different tires at this point. So he's got to stay focused on doing a good job of holding off Jeff Ward, Spencer Preet, Michael Cozy Jr., and just let Justin Bolton go, who's doing his own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of drivers here who found their groove at Iowa that wouldn't have found it elsewhere. One of those is Butcher Benjamin. Justin Bolton's doing phenomenally. Derek Paulson, 26th to 8th. I mean, look at the number of drivers who've made big moves. Ryan Walsh, 13th to 6th. Preet, 24th to 4th. 23rd to 2nd for Bolton. 9th to 1st, of course, for Butcher Benjamin. We've also got the likes, of course, of Steve Ritter, 27th to 13th. Let's not overlook him. And Jensen Taylor, 30th to 15th. So this guy is making big strides here because this is such a peculiar track that they've found a groove that other guys haven't. This is their chance to shine.
I think this is a track where drivers will spend more time practicing maybe than other tracks, Justin. And I talked with a few drivers before tonight's event, and just to sort of gauge, they said they would put in more practice here than just about any other race already up to this point in the season because it is not an easy track. It is definitely a rhythm-based track, and if you can get that rhythm, you see the results here. And I can tell you, the guys that I talked to before the race are some of these guys we were just mentioning making big moves through the field.
Yeah, exactly. You have to make sure you know where your braking, not just where your braking marks are when you hit the throttle, but you have to know what is the best time, best line, what is the best strategy to do X. How can I say save the tires as the caution flag comes out once again here at
16.
Iowa?
That's Steve Ritter.
And
yeah,
it is right.
13th, and now he's round.
Yeah, turn 3 and 4, guys. Yeah, absolutely demolished on that car, I think, here. And he was in a tight battle, mind you. I think one of the drivers who took fresh tires, guys. Yes, the 91. Gave him a bit of a ride, and that sent him hard into the fence.
Unfortunate for Steve Ritter. It looks like just a misjudgment of the braking point by the 91 there of Chris Berg, who's had a pretty good run here tonight so far, but unfortunately just didn't give himself enough space to account for the fact that Steve Ritter hadn't pitted yet and was going to check up a little bit earlier on corner entry there, and gets run over from behind. That's a very helpless feeling, but you know, it's an accident that happens. I see it a whole bunch. No doubt, definitely no intent there, but still unfortunate nonetheless for Steve Ritter.
Absolutely unfortunate, but it's exactly that. It was a breaking point matter, and he was unfortunately not quite lined up, so it ended up being, yeah, not the angle he definitely wanted. So it's an Iowa crash, is what I can call it.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to call it. He got a free ride into the outside fence at a high rate of speed. I don't think that's one he signed up for, but yeah, just one of those innocent things, and I'll put us under our third yellow flag of the evening. I don't think Justin Bolton necessarily wanted to see that one right now. Looking at these guys behind him who hadn't pitted yet, you know, it could be time for them to come down pit road, as I do see a number of cars coming down, like Ryan Wash, Spencer Preet's on pit road as well, Derek Paulson too. So this was the opportunity, Jeff Ward and others, all the leaders on pit road at this point. Like you said, JP, they were going to use this to their advantage to come down pit road, and now that pendulum is swung over from Justin Bolton from good to bad.
Yeah, right now just a one-stopper. The best stop out of them, though. Spencer Preet off and away. He goes first out of the pits, mind you, with a 14-4. Everyone else except for the driver of Kyle Vincent Gilbert was in the 15+ range. Very slow times for a lot of drivers. But it's going to get very interesting now because Taylor Butcher Benjamin elected not to go down this time. And as you said, Justin Bolton not going in because he just took the tires. It's going to hurt him, I think, if there's a major run. Because it's a 10th difference, give or take, about 10 on this 10-lap difference. If there's, say, a 40-lap run, we can see him potentially drop outside the top 5. Rachel, I think you want to step in and give your thoughts here, too, possibly, on this one.
Didn't actually have anything to say at that point, but I think you are right with where you've come from with this one. And it's going to be an interesting way you can try and fight this one back.
I'm curious, Rachel, do you think this was a mistake by Taylor Butcher Benjamin to not come down and get service right here?
I don't know. It's tough to call it because right now he's still in a great place, and there's a lot of guys up ahead now who are going to be a good block for a short time. Might be a consequence, but he will have better tires later on, so I think with him being so much better later in the run, this is the right call.
All right, we'll see how it plays out for him and certainly for Justin Bolton as well, who has got 22 laps or so on those tires, and that'll hurt him against the guys that just pitted, like Spencer Preet and Jeff Ward and Michael Cozy Jr. and all those guys. But interesting to note, Spencer Preet did win that race off of pit road, rather. So he did beat the 9 and the 99 off of pit road, so he gained 2 spots there. But 5 guys in front of all of them, Justin Bolton, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Jason Taylor, who just got the wave around on the last yellow flag, Doug Johnson in the 88, and John Johnson in the 24 will make up the 5 cars who stayed out on this yellow flag, our third of the evening, and be in front of all the guys who have been up front and just took their first round of service. So this sets up the potential, Justin, for some fireworks here on this restart.
Yeah, 10-15 lap difference because the drivers of the 51, the 88, and the 24 coming down the same time as Justin Bolton, of course. So they could, a lot of these drivers might be passed on by quickly, but it's going to be about, can you manage to do so cleanly, or else we're going to have another case of an Iowa crash. It's going to be the question of, can you do it quickly and efficiently? We'll have to see who the best ones are to do that. It could become an issue, I think, by maybe around the 10th on back place, where a lot of these 4 or 5 car battles are, where it can really bunch things on up. At this point, you got to hope that you have a caution potentially afterwards, after a, say, 25-lap run, to put them back into the positive strategy.
Lights are out atop the iRacing.com pace car. We'll take the opportunity before we go back to green to remind you that Dr. Squatch Soap raises the bar for men's grooming and changes the way men approach their hygiene by providing healthy, all-natural products that allow you to feel like a man and smell like a champion. Use promo code SESRA15 at drsquatch.com for 15% off your first order. That's drsquatch.com. Use promo code SESRA15. So getting ready for the restart here. It'll be Justin Bolton and Taylor Butcher Benjamin on the front row. Keep an eye on these guys behind them on the fresh rubber. Pace car is off. Bolton waiting. Now he will go. Green flag, late restart in the box there, but that sort of stacked everyone up to his benefit, and he gets away by 5 car lengths over Butcher Benjamin. Keep an eye on Kyle Vincent Gilbert, Jeff Ward, Spencer Preet. 3 wide already. Spencer Preet through the middle, bringing Michael Cozy Jr. with him.
Wow, Cozy couldn't quite make it through that gap there, but he's got it closed off. He's going to have a chance later on in this one, but Preet, like a cork out of bottom. Ward goes backwards, taps the one there. Things very close to sideways behind them, as we had a caution there. There's about to be another one. I'm surprised that was our only one. I think that was a 5 of Paulson, maybe. I'm looking for that car. It was Paulson indeed. Unfortunately got wrapped around there in 3 and 4 after a very busy restart. Multiple cars, different tires. He seemed to come down there on the 12. The nose of the 12 car of Mark Arthur. Trying to get to his line. Wasn't quite clear. Gets turned sideways. I'm genuinely shocked that he was missed by everybody. That is phenomenal, and that awareness from that field was phenomenal, but I swear if he hadn't crashed, the rest of them at the front were about to.
Give a call to Jesse Owuji for somehow getting through that. Jonathan Smith as well. If we get an onboard with Jesse Owuji in the 76, he barely clipped Derek Paulson, but a sharp maneuver to the right just barely got a piece of him. Could have been a lot worse, and Jonathan Smith doing a great job himself in the 23 to get around the spinning Derek Paulson. And Justin, looking at that, looks like 2 cars fighting over room where there's could really only be 1 car between Paulson and Mark Arthur.
Yeah, to the point where Arthur was just about on right, got his left sides right underneath the yellow line, having a look right at this. Got it right to the edge of the apron, trying to force it there, and that's just short track racing. You think the door's being left open, but it just so happens to get shut just as you're underneath, and just not enough space. To get into the case of a Wuji, though, I do have to say, while the damage may not look severe, there is the risk of suspension damage from the exact position that he got hit, as well as minor engine damage that we'll have to watch out for that 76 for the rest of this race.
A very alert drive by the pro driver there. Saved himself from T-boning Derek Paulson, and Mark Arthur really no worse for the wear either, save for a little bit of damage to the right front of the number 12. But a two-car incident there, and it remains that way. I guess you could call it 3 if you count Iwuji barely getting a piece of it. But a nice job nonetheless for him to maneuver through there for our 4th caution of the evening here on lap number 89 now. So not too far away from the halfway point, but looking at that restart, Spencer Preet was a man on a mission, like a missile through the middle there, trying to get by these guys that were on older tires, splitting guys like Doug Johnson and John Johnson. Rachel, Spencer Preet's already up to 3rd, so if you're Justin Bolton and Taylor Butcher Benjamin, you're not liking that so much.
No, it's difficult for them, and of course with this means that tire gap, the speed difference was huge, so I think Preet's going to shoot right to the front of this one, and this could be costing the guys who were hoping for a longer run here like the previous ones to give them that benefit, so it's going to throw this one into the mix, of course, but does help the likes of Cozy Jr., who had an awful start there.
Yeah, and you mentioned that contact between Jeff Ward and Ryan Wash. Ward got a little out of shape trying to tiptoe through the slower cars and backed it up a little bit. Ryan Wash, no time to react and ran to the back of the 9. So just contact everywhere, and I guess that's, like you said, just short track racing, Justin. But for these guys with sitting pretty good in points, you got to be careful. But some stuff's just out of your hands. So as a race car driver, in these positions where there's so many things out of your hands on a short track where contact is almost inevitable, is there anything you can do to mitigate that or at least offset your likelihood of getting hit by somebody?
I mean, my strategy is, in part, have as many cars behind you as you can, because if you have the drivers in front of you when they make the contact, it's going to be harder to avoid the damage, to avoid the cars, rather than, say, if they're behind you for the said incident. But in all seriousness, in that kind of a situation, it depends really on what kind of car you feel like. If you feel like you can run towards the front, but feel like if you try and push, you might push too hard, I think you stay towards the back. You try and be patient and wait until maybe the final 50 laps to either make a strategy call or make a push to head back towards the top 10. If you're towards the front, there's no way in heck you drop back, because if you drop back, that's where you end up falling back to where, pardon my language, the goobers are in terms of some of the cars, and where you can get yourself into a caution or get yourself damaged or wrecked into the field. So it depends on which driver you are and which car you have, but in other words, you better hope you're fast to stay up front.
I like the answer. And there's our first goober of the year. I like that. That's a good word. I think that fits in a lot of cases. So that's great. That's outstanding. Before we get back to the restart, I want to highlight the 51, Jason Taylor. He was the recipient of the free pass just a couple of cautions ago, and now finds himself up on the outside of row number 2 in the 4th position in his number 51 Ghostface Brewing Ford Mustang. So nice job, nice recovery there for Jason Taylor, but pace car makes its way off, and we're getting set for another restart. Justin Bolton goes a lot earlier this time. Spencer Preet was ready. He's already up alongside Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Bad news for the 8, good news for the 00 as they go side by side, but not for long. Spencer Preet will clear him in 1 and 2.
Oof. Huge hit there for the 1 on the 24 car, going through 1 and 2 there. Getting very tight at this stage of the race, with a lot of cars trying to move around and find room here to get this thing racing again. 88 on the low side, 9 going high and fast. Vincent Gilbert goes past. 51 ducks out of the way fast there as the 9 gets a massive run, sliding underneath the 8 car there. As look at this at the front, Preet fighting now side by side with the 11 of Justin Bolton. Preet though not quite got the momentum. Bolton still pulls ahead. Preet goes to the low side. Preet was flying through there, just takes that one with no challenge whatsoever. And Cozy Jr. coming up fast behind.
That's the power of 20-lap pressure tires right there. Spencer Preet making it look easy. I think he would make it look easy on most people anyways, regardless of tire, but definitely on Justin Bolton, who's well-noted, well-documented, outstanding sim racer in his own right. Here comes Michael Cozy Jr. now challenging for second on his fresh tires as well. So I think here we'll see the 11 start to fall through this field because of the little bit different tire strategy that he employed, Justin. But I think for him, he probably won't far too far back. Even with the 20-lap older tires, I think he can still maintain a good enough pace as Cozy Jr. jumps to the outside. I think for Bolton, as long as he stays somewhere in the top 10, I think that's probably going to be a job well done for him until the next cycle of pit stops.
And that's where big picture racing comes in. He has to basically keep this car clean, not give anyone too much of a fight. There's already been a couple tenths difference when drivers get unclean air and gain up towards him. So as long as he stays in that top 10, he's okay. I think, though, if he gets caught up, say, beyond that, it's going to be harder to try and gain it up, but you have to remember, it's going to be an alternate strategy the rest of the way. But still, around 10th position, it's currently 3 wide.
Oh, a lot of contact there. Mark Arthur, Doug Johnson, Jacob Sayer, Zachary Sprung, Jason Taylor, all in this mess. Oh my goodness, look at this. This is an absolute scramble of cars as these guys that stayed out on older tires are fading back.
Oh,
but he gets burned!
Big hit there. 35 involved as well with that one, as we had the crash we were expecting there. 3 wide, yeah, there's not always room when you've got a car in front of you. You want to pass. 38 went to go round to 21. Unfortunately, 88 was just overlapping slightly, and he hooked himself into the wall. Nothing the others could do. 26 as well gets hooked up into the wall for him. 25, sorry. He goes up high there and slams the outside wall. Jacob Sayers as, wow. That was a pretty big one.
I would certainly say so, and for as much contact as we saw in that pack, it's amazing it took him that long to wreck Aiden Patterson in the 38, the first car to go around, and like you said, the 25, the second car to go around there of Jacob Sayers, so tough break for them, but I think that's just one of those situations where the guys that hadn't pitted were falling through and guys on fresh rubber were coming through, and it's just, you got to have a little bit of patience, but it's so hard to check out of the throttle here when you get a good run. But with cars all over, left side, right side, there's really not a whole lot you can do.
No, there wasn't really at that point. And Doug Johnson, while he was fighting as hard as he could to try and keep as much as he could, the problem was, in that case, as you've seen already a couple times, I think the 38 was expecting him to be more higher up because he was at least 10 feet away from the outside wall. He tried to slide on up and try and get around the 21 in Zachary Sprung, not expecting him to be that close towards him on the inside to his outside. That caused everything else there, and that ended up causing Calamity Corner, as you've seen there in part as well. So that's what happens if you have older tires that are too aggressive. That is the kind of race consistent result from that we've seen from the 88, just trying to hold his line, also trying not to lose too much grip and having a collision.
Well, just in now, so people will be the same response I would have did. So definitely a little bit of side of the racetrack. Honestly, didn't expect it.
Testing here, are we okay?
Yep.
All right, well, we'll roll with it for the time being. You saw it happen live there. Great job by Brett Wheeler with the camera work as we were riding on board when that spun occurred. So that was fun to see there, but yeah, one of those crazy situations, a lot of cars in a pack right there, and I think we're having a little bit of gremlins, if you will. No big deal. We'll work through it. It happened back at the Brickyard, I believe, as well. We managed to get through there. So let's do this. Let's step aside briefly while we're under this yellow flag. We'll get all that sorted out. We'll be right back for more coverage of the Ghostface Brewing 199 here on your home for live sim racing, LSRTV.
We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. No. Turn your shower game up to 11. With the smooth lather of gold moss or the exfoliating woodsy bliss that is pine tar, get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. You want to smell like the forest? Boom, pine tar, we've got you. You want to smell like the sea? Boom, nautical sage, we've got you. You want to smell like you just got off a boat in the Caribbean? Boom, bay rum, we've got you. And with 6 more cents, we've got you covered no matter what kind of man you are. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
And we are back here at the Iowa Speedway. This is Ghostface Brewing 199 here on lap 102. Coming to the restart, Spencer Preet and Michael Cozy Jr. make up the front row. It's Justin Bolton, Jeff Ward in row number 2, Kyle Vincent Gilbert and Ryan Wash in the third row. So here we go. Pace car off down onto the pit road. Field in the hands of Spencer Preet. He's on the gas and away. Green flag back in the air as he will jump out to a nice lead as they're side-by-side for second. Behind him, Bolton and Cozy Jr. fighting there. Jeff Ward fourth, Kyle Vincent Gilbert in fifth, watching Justin Bolton backing up on the inside.
Yeah, the 8 car of Butcher Benjamin, who was so strong, has dropped back here. This tyre strategy hasn't helped him at all. Bolton faring a lot better, but not by much as Ward goes flying through. Here comes Vincent Gilbert. Here comes the 11 to try and take that back. But right now, not quite able to get himself in there, so the 9 of Ward closes that off, and it's the usual 3 cars in the front.
Big move from the 23. That's Jonathan Smith as he tried to get a pass done there on Mike Montesi. Montesi crossed him back over down the back straightaway. Nice job there, just inside of the top 10. And speaking of just inside the top 10, Jesse Iwuji finds himself flirting with the top 10, battling with Mark Arthur right now. So Iwuji doing a nice job here in his first start in the SESRA series. And up here, almost to halfway, he's got himself flirting with the top 10, JP.
Yeah, while the damage is hurting him a little bit, especially in the front stretch mainly, he's been able to make it up, I think, pretty well in the corners specifically to gain up as much time as he can right now. So while he's had all this kind of damage to try and deal with it, he scored officially 11th. He's been doing as good of a job as he can, as he just had to see a near incident happen in front of him as Ridgeway nearly just tapped right into Arthur, as it's going to be 3 wide just in front of them.
That's Montesi, Wash, and Jonathan Smith once again going at it. They get back to single file, but they fan out through these corners as Iwuji will take a peek to the outside of Derek Paulson. So good scrap here amongst these 6 or 7 drivers. Don't forget about 13 of Matt Ridgeway as well. So good job there as I see Kyle Vincent Gilbert, Justin Bolton go side by side for about the 4th position. So we'll take a look at that and see how this thing shakes out. But Bolton, again, on about 20 lap older tires, Rachel, but doing a nice job holding on.
Absolutely, and the tyres are so critical at a track like this, especially in the length of runs that these guys are actually getting in here, and the restarts don't help, actually. They let the tyres and the tracks cool down, which actually makes this worse, if anything. Bolton, Vincent Gilbert.
No change up front as Cozy Jr. continues to lead Spencer Preet, absolutely hounding him. Well, I guess that is a change because Preet was the leader, so Cozy Jr. back to the point, I should say. Here where he was earlier, Jeff Ward slots into 3rd. Kyle Vincent Gilbert in 4th. We talked about him seemingly a lot at the beginning of the season in the 227 and then sort of fell off during this middle portion. But now, once again, back up front where we're accustomed to seeing him. It was somewhere around Watkins Glen where the season-long performance sort of took a turn for the worse, but running well inside the top 5, and he's been there all night, JP, so nice job for KVG.
Yeah, nice job for KVG so far by far. And he's had some battles here and there, of course, for the 5th spot and 4th spot for much of the night, especially in the first run. But the main thing, he's kept the front side of the car specifically clean. While he's got backside damage, he's been able to keep the most important part aerodynamically and motor-wise as clean as he can. If he keeps it up, he might be in a decent shape to, in case other drivers beat up the right front fenders, to be able to gain some speed on those said drivers. The main thing is the downside for him, the pace. Qualifying in practice, he ran mainly in the 6s. He's running the 5s, which is a 2/10 off the race leader in Cozy Jr. Right now, the pace he's running could still get him a top 5 overall, I think, though.
Seemingly on target for that top 5 if everything shakes out the way that it's been running right now. And Mike Montesi there in 6th place driving the 7. It's been a good run for him. He's sort of been the best of the rest, if you will, as far as the points go. Derek Paulson came in tonight 3rd, but Montesi's been up there as well, doing a pretty nice job. And again, an overall fairly quiet season. I haven't got to talk to him a whole bunch, but giving the 7 a good run here tonight as he holds on for the 6th position, battling Jonathan Smith right now.
Certainly is, and Smith doing his best right now to try and keep himself relevant to this argument, as behind them, Arthur and Montesi in front, both showing a bit more legs at the moment. One behind them as well. Wash is looking like he may have a chance here. Paulson recovering, of course, after his incident earlier tonight. That car looking a bit heavily damaged, but right now faster than Wash, who has been a top-running car earlier in this race.
Yep. Doing a nice job, absolutely. And Ryan Wash, again, a fixture inside the top 5, certainly the top 10 for all of this run as they'll work past the slow car of the 66 of Arnold Thompson, who's had his fair share of issues here tonight. But you know what? Looking up at the lap counter, yeah, we're past halfway. So let's take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and more. So as they run right now, it is Michael Cozy Jr. out front, Spencer Preet in 2nd, Jeff Ward in 3rd, Kyle Vincent Gilbert 4th, Justin Bolton 5th, Mike Montesi in 6th, Jonathan Smith 7th, Mark Arthur 8th, Derek Paulson 9th, and Ryan Wash rounds out the top 10.
P11 tonight is going to be Matt Ridgway with Jesse Udway in P12, David Netzel in 13th with Zachary Sprung, Jacob Sayers 15th, Wally Wilson, Ashton Schleiss, Jay Graves Jr., Chris Berg, and Jason Anderson in 20th.
In 21st right now, it's Aiden Patterson after getting involved in that last caution, while Doug Johnson still chugging along in the 22nd spot. Taylor Butcher Benjamin still not on the best strategy. He elected to stay out and try things with the older tires and hope for a quick caution. Has not worked out. Still in the lead lap, 23rd. John Johnson, 24th. Brian McRae falling back to 25th in terms of strategy. Fred Thompson, last car in the lead lap. Jason Taylor, you may wonder why he's now a lap down in 27. That's because just a couple laps ago, after hitting the wall, spun in the infield, straightening things out, did not bring out the caution, had the cycle right behind the leaders, is now in between where Kyle Vincent Gilbert and Jeff Ward are on the track. Steve Ritter is 3 laps down, still chugging along. And the cars finishing off the grid right now. Arnold Thompson 28 laps down and running at half speed with a completely destroyed front end after blowing his motor, and Matt Goyne wrecking out early on and having to dive straight into the pits in the first 20-plus laps of this race tonight.
That's been a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. So there's 30-car field started. We still got 28 on track, 26 of them on the lead lap. Rachel, it's been a very entertaining race up to this point here at Iowa, proving why it's one of the drivers' favorite tracks for the most part to come to. But like it's been for much of this season, it's the big 3, Cozy, Preet, and Ward, showing the way it gets done around the track.
Certainly is, and although Iowa's a difficult track, it's a driver's track. It's the sort of place where these guys can actually get up on the wheel and race each other. They can make passes. It's not a track where they'll separate out and the speed differences are huge. People can get that movement going, and this is what they enjoy about racing. Let's look at the big movement by Mark Arthur, actually, speaking of which. Big run by him there, working on Jonathan Smith there in the 23 car. That gap is down into the hundreds. And how can we tell that? Well, we use dual real timing. Whether you spend your time on the iRacing service on the wheel, the pit box, or the spotter stand, use dual real timing to help you with the latest and best scoring and timing analytics iRacing can offer. Get yourself a free download today at joel-real-timing.com.
Another classic pivot into Joe Real timing by Rachel White. Thank you for that, as Justin Bolton, Kyle Vincent Gilbert continue to battle between themselves. I can tell you Spencer Preet did inherit second place, took that away from Jeff Ward, so swap those two around. Now put Preet up into P2. But this battle between Mark Arthur, Jonathan Smith, simply won't go away. Derek Paulson there as well. Sort of a three-car tango down the front straightaway for these guys just inside of the top 10, Justin.
Yeah, right now everyone just training themselves along at this point, as you talked about. So it's just a matter of who's getting the best runs. They're running about the same pace. Paulson, in fact, is the fastest out of all of them because that severe damage that Rachel had mentioned is just on that left rear fender, basically. Left rear back bumper, I should really say. The rest, the drivers in front of him, though, have either not been on the right best of paces or have damage on the right side, affecting the straight line speed down the front straightaway specifically. So I think though with Paulson, I think he's got the car and the talent to try and the confidence to get the job done here to try and break, at least get between these two cars. He just needs to time it up right. Right now, I think he's just trying to save tires a little bit because there's still 101 laps to go in this race here, David. You have to think big picture on top of all things.
You certainly do. The back end of the American Pool Supply Ford Mustang for Derek Paulson looking a little bit on the sad side. Sort of hard to find a place back there without damage, but this battle continues to rage on between Kyle Vincent Gilbert and Justin Bolton. Supremely entertaining, and it really just showcases what Iowa Speedway is all about with the variable banking going from 12 to 14 degrees bottom to top. Around here is Kyle Vincent Gilbert will take that position away now, so put him up to 4th. Justin Bolton back to 5th. Mike Montesi starting to creep in 6th, but here comes the crossover down the front straightaway. Bolton now down to the inside, and these guys continue to just trade these positions back and forth, Rachel.
And that's what we're going to see from most of this race, of course. Positions going backwards and forwards just because of the virtue of this track. You might have a good car at the start, not necessarily towards the end of a run.
Well, Justin, I'll put it to you. Better to be good at the end of a run or better to be good at the beginning of a run?
End of the run, by far. Simple question, simple answer. While short run speed is so good, is of course very beneficial if your tires fall off. For the end of the run, all that time you can gain off if you don't save tires at some point during the run in the early portions, will be completely lost at this section of a run, a green flag run. I think that might be the case what Bolton had to do. We see him lose a lot of time, 0.3 of a second rather than a tenth if he was going 100%. Maybe he went 40%, and now now that he's saved 20 laps to try and balance it back out to where it can be competitive, he's now back maybe towards 90%. So I think at this point he's trying to get it to where it's best at the long run and hoping that some of these drivers in front of him or battling for position are pushing their tires and are going to fall back to him at the end of the run when they have to pit with the differential on the cycles.
I think it's a job well done for Justin Bolton, and he's definitely exceeded what I thought he was going to be able to do with 20-plus lap older tires, I should say. I said he should aim to try and stay within the top 10. He's done me way better than that. He's hung on inside of the top 5. And is sort of matching lap times with that of Michael Cozy Jr., Spencer Preet, and Jeff Ward. So he might be 6 seconds back from these guys, but he's not losing time at the rate of speed that other people might that had older tires like that. It just speaks to the skill of the driver of the number 11 representing the team, Justin Bolton. So another great run for him. But again, no change inside the top 3 as Spencer Preet finds himself about 1.3 seconds back of Michael Cozy Jr. So Rachel, we're past halfway and under 100 laps to go. Michael Cozy Jr. 0. Big old goose egg in the win column. We've talked about, I don't want to jinx him or curse him or anything, but he's done such a great job here tonight. Is this the night, in your opinion, that he can get it done and get that win?
We always ask this question, and I think often we think we know the answer, but often we don't. I still think that Spencer Preet's going to win this thing because he always does. But could it be somebody else? Absolutely. It could be somebody else every single week. But he finds a way somehow of weaseling in there. And, yeah. He's probably going to be crowned the Corn Court King tonight, I think.
The Corn Court King. I like that. We've managed to keep the corn puns down. I'm surprised We talked before we came on the air live here tonight that there was a high likelihood of corn puns, and I got to say I'm proud of everyone for showing a lot of restraint and keeping it to a minimum. But the king of the corn court, I like that. That might be. We might just have to leave it at that. I don't have to make any. I feel satisfied with that, Justin. Unless you got something amazing up your sleeve,
David,
perhaps you feel different.
there, Preet and Ward battling it out there on the backstretch, and Preet just gets back ahead, but still very close. Ward coming back at him.
A good scrap there for the second place as Ward seemingly found new life in the number 9 Arctic Ford Mustang, closing in on Spencer Preet. And for Preet, that's got to be something he didn't want to see because he's trying to gain points on that 9, not allow him back around here.
Yeah, right now, they've been fighting for what has looked like 15, 20 laps. It seems like every time Preet starts to pull away, he ends up tapping the wall. Or, in the case here, has to dodge lap traffic. Look at how much Anderson it holds them up, having to check out of the brakes. And they have been training because of partly that. Drivers like Ward taking advantage of mistakes, passing back, then Preet gets them back. Or Ward makes a pass, or I should say, Preet makes the pass on back to get second clearly, then Ward immediately on down the front stretch gets it back. Now, because of that lap traffic, they're back to side by side. They just can't get away from each other. And the more they do this, the more time they're going to lose to Cozy Jr. up at the front because it's going to hurt their exit speed specifically if they keep on running side by side at a track like this in the late portion of the run.
It was just a poor job, I think, by Spencer Preet to get around that slower car of Anderson, who seemingly was giving himself up against the wall, and Preet saw a hole there to try and go between him and the wall. I'm glad he backed out of it because that wouldn't have worked out well for him. But once again, that topic of navigating the slower cars here at Iowa, Rachel, Preet, not a good job getting it done there. Jeff Ward more than happy to take advantage of that situation.
Absolutely, and he definitely did in a very strong manner. Could this be a sign we might see a different end to this race as I believe Ritter just made it to pit road? I think it might, because Cozy Jr. is lopping away with this one. 2.2 seconds up the road, and right now it's looking like he's got his nose to the grindstone, if you will.
Well, we know there's one more pit stop to be made for all these guys, one more set of tires in their pit stalls to put on. The majority of this field came in around lap 75 or so, and so I would imagine probably around lap 150 might be it for them, or somewhere between lap 150 to 160. Historically, Justin, we've seen these guys stretch that middle stint and try and pit as late as possible so that third stint they have the freshest tires for the longest period of time. And even more traditionally, it's been Spencer Preet who has stayed out the longest and set himself up for a dramatic run through the field. Here, I think all the cards are in favor of Michael Cozy Jr. He can sort of dictate whatever he wants with a 2+ second lead right now over these guys. So I think he's in a good condition to pit whenever he wants, and that's going to sort of dictate what everybody else does.
I think potentially as well, it's just going to come down to what lap is the best lap in the driver's opinion, and you also don't want to get stuck a lap down in case, say, a caution comes out. So you got to time it up to the right way, I think, at this point. If you see, say, Cozy Jr. duck in, I think that'll dictate when the rest of the field comes in. Say, they try and stagger it 1 or 2 laps after Cozy Jr. if they can get to that distance. A majority of the field is around that range. We're going to have to see because they're approaching that field within 5 laps. I think I would lean more towards 160 in my opinion, but we'll have to see what they do.
Well, it's been a fun game that we've played a number of times this season, is when will Spencer Preet pit? And seemingly we always get it wrong, Rachel, but he's mastered this art of staying out longer and then just blistering through the field with the fresher tires. And, you know, I guess we shouldn't doubt him. He's got so many wins, and even last week we wrote him off for dead, I think at least once, if not twice. And he was the one holding the checkered flag when it was all said and done. So maybe this week we will just trust that he knows what he's doing. But fuel has been certainly the name of the game over the past few weeks, and we hadn't seen that before. Now, in the back half of the schedule, the fuel mileage has been the prevailing factor in these races. I don't think that's going to set up that way tonight, though. I think it still comes down to tires.
Certainly does, and tires are always the factor in this series, with this being such a limiting facet of the race. It means these guys really have to focus on what they need and when they won't need it. It's not about how fast you can go in a single set and then simply jump in at the next caution and go again. means people are more careful. People are more cautious. They run their tires differently. They drive their car differently. And I think it makes the race not only more realistic, far more realistic, but it makes things much more interesting because you're seeing a real strategy game.
You saw it on your screen there. One car looped around. I believe that was the 69 of Wally Wilson that looped it around a little bit ago on the entrance to pit road right in front of Spencer Preet, so he gets it fired up and is back underway. I do want to note that Steve Ritter has pulled the number 16 behind the wall, so his night is done. And highlight somebody we talked about earlier, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, who was leading and fighting for the lead for a large portion of this race. Finds himself back in 23rd, one lap down. Justin, not the run. We talked, you know, he's had good runs and not the finishes. It seems tonight might be another case of that.
Yeah, it seems that exact case for sure. I think I have to agree. He just has... He was in a great position. The problem is, I think he expected it to become a caution fest I think in terms of Butcher Benjamin, and I think you're referring to, pardon me. So, oh yeah, just drivers like that have just blown blew the strategy. Expected it to become a caution fest, did not become that way. Now, it looks like because of that, has to open up the pit window just now as he ducks in for his lap 115 to 151, a lap down in the field.
Yeah, he went 110 laps on that stint, so a very long middle stint for him. Just didn't work out the way that he hoped it to, and so it'll be another finish where he'll be wondering what if, because he was definitely very strong tonight. Give a lot of credit to the driver, the number 8. He showed a lot of muscle past guys like Spencer Preet, Michael Cozy Jr., and Jeff Ward legitimately, but won't have the finish to show for it, Rachel. So unfortunate for him, but I think we're well inside that pit stop window now. We'll just wait and see when these guys come down. If you're Michael Cozy Jr., what sort of lap are you targeting to come down to set up for the last stop?
I think realistically they'll be looking to come down in perhaps 10 to 15 laps. Open that window up nicely, give yourself a nice steady run to the end of this thing. We right now have 14 cars in the lead lap, which means a caution here could be a very easy thing to manage. You are going to drop a lap doing this, so I'd probably aim to look at the start of the window more than later, because that way you have got fresher tyres regardless, but it's not worth waiting too long here at Iowa. Fuel, I think, matters a little bit more than the tyres at the moment for these guys.
See Justin Bolton getting his service there, so he was the first of really the big ones, the big front runners to come down and get his service here on lap 155. So 11 is complete on pit road for his service.
We got trouble in the front stretch, guys. Jesse Awuji in it. Absolute big one here, and this is going to scramble both their strategies again. Jay Graves Jr. and that 76 making contact on the exit of turn 4. Talked about the issue of coming tight. Awuji ends up squeezing him into the wall as Graves Jr. pushes up. Awuji gets hooked by Graves Jr. right in front of the race leaders, mind you. And the caution is out, guys. This changes everything and could throw Justin Bolton's strategy out where he has to take the wave to have a shot at this race.
Big wrench thrown in the equation there for the 11. Unfortunate for Awuji, and I think for Jay Graves Jr., he was reacting in front of him when Chris Berg at 91 had to check up, got up into the outside fence, which caused Graves Jr. to sort of check up as well. And Jesse Awuji carrying a lot of speed on corner exit there, nowhere to go, and ends up getting turned from the right rear and hits the outside fence right at the flag stand. Big shot for the 76 there. So his first time out, pro driver Jesse Awuji gave it a pretty good run, hung around the top 10 for the most part, just outside the top 10, but he'll get well antiquated with the outside barrier there. As we'll now get the opportunity to see guys like Jeff Ward, Michael Cozy Jr., Spencer Preet on pit road and take their service under yellow.
Sunny as in yellow is a great time to take that opportunity because everybody's going to come and reset here. Got to feel bad for Jesse Awuji. It's unfortunate, but it's one of those circumstances. You've got to have your eyes on swivels, especially on corner exit when there's a car ahead of you. You've got to be ready to dive. So it's an interesting position here. Preet has not pitted, so that's interesting. 51 will be out ahead of them, so I think he's going to wave around at this point. Not sure. He is not a lead lap car from what I can tell. That's Jensen Taylor. He's down a lap, so he should be waving at this point. It'll be interesting to see how it helps him, but Preet going to be in a very difficult spot here with no new tyres on.
He wasn't the only one to do it either. Kyle Vincent Gilbert, Mike Montesi, also have not made their second pit stop. So those 3 guys are still on the set that they took about 76 or so laps ago, JP.
Yeah, that's a curious decision, I think. Montesi, last time he did this, he ducked down, and the second time around doesn't do it this time. I think the only thing I can think that is that they're hoping that there is another caution, and they're trying to save that set for, say, a 20-lap sprint to the finish or a 10-lap sprint to the finish. But there's the question of, will they have enough fuel to make it? Because that win, they got to basically hope that there's going to be another set of cautions. They're gambling, I think, on cautions, precautions, and having fresher tires than the rest of the field, and using that to their advantage. The thing is, if there's too much of a long run, that strategy can go straight out the window.
The only thing that saves these 3 drivers right now is a caution at some point. And for their sake, they're probably going to be hoping for somewhere around, I don't know, 20 to 30, maybe 40 laps from now before that yellow flag waves. A late race yellow would really be to their benefit, because guys like Cozy Jr. and Ward and Bolton are out of tires. They can't take any more tires for the rest of the race. So Montesi is actually going to peel off and come down pit road, thinks better of his strategy. So that'll just leave Preet and KVG as the only 2 who did not pit here. But, you know, Rachel, I'll say this and get your thoughts on it. If you're Spencer Preet, you've got 6 wins, 3 in a row, some of them in the most incredible fashion possible. This is a gamble you can afford to take, is it not?
I think it is, and it's, considering the point standings, he's in a brilliant position right now not to not even care. So he's really looking fine at the moment. He's not going to be in an awkward spot. And as been pointed out by Justin, Butcher Benjamin 3 laps down, Bolton 2 laps down. These guys have found themselves in terrible spots because of their pitting cycle, and it's going to cost him.
Yeah, that caution could not have flown at a worse time for guys like Butcher Benjamin, who's already 1 lap down before his pit stop. Justin Bolton, just 1 lap too soon, it would seem. And so that'll, for the most part, pretty much negate him out of this equation too. And Spencer Preet stayed out, so there are no wave-around cars either. He is absolutely masterminded this thing to a T, and that's why he's a 6-time winner. That's why he has won 3 in a row. Not just a great driver with the hands and the feet, but he's got a functioning brain between those ears too, Justin.
Yeah, maybe I think part of the thought process is knowing that guys like Bolton and Butcher Benjamin, who have had pace to run in the top 5, could, if they got the wave around, be at least 1 lap down or 2 laps down, Bolton and Butcher Benjamin respectively. They would still have a shot potentially if there's a quick caution and if they get into a lucky dog spot. This takes it out of the equation. It completely takes Bolton, in fact, I think, out of the equation at all. Absolutely now, since he has multiple drivers in front of him 1 lap down, it's going to take a miracle now for him to get back on the lead lap, and that would be within the final few laps. Now, we'll have to wait and see what happens for this restart.
That'll leave 12 cars on the lead lap right now. Zachary Sprung is 12th, the last guy on the lead lap, but pace car is off. Field in the hands of Spencer Preet. Kyle Vincent Gilbert make up the front row. Preet is down and away. Another great restart for the 0-0. Mark Arthur there in the 12. Inside row number 2, the second car back behind Kyle Vincent Gilbert. Michael Cozy Jr. up on the top side with those fresh tires. Yeah, absolutely blistering through.
Big congestion. Gilbert nowhere there off that corner. Everyone flying past him on both sides. He just bogged down in 1 and 2, and it's cost him. Look at this in 3 and 4 being mobbed now by the entire pack. F1, 7 in the wall. 11 has to find a way around this. We nearly looked at our next caution there as Vincent Gilbert threw the anchors on. I don't know how.
That's just the old tires not doing him any favors. 81 laps on that set of tires, and that's what it looks like on the restart. Michael Cozy Jr. back out front by a wide margin. Jeff Ward now up to 2nd. Derek Paulson in 3rd. Matt Ridgway 4th. Spencer Preet falls back to 5th on his old tires. But, yeah, Kyle Vincent Gilbert absolutely helpless there. Just horrible pace, and credit to the field to work their way around it without any incident there. But that's the way that's going to shake out, and Preet will fall back. Bolton will get by him. But remember, Justin Bolton in the 11 is not on the lead lap at this point. He is 2 laps down, so really not a factor other than being up at the front. So for guys like Spencer Preet, Kyle Vincent Gilbert, they got to stay patient right now, Justin, especially Preet, who hasn't visited the outside wall. He's just got to be patient and hope that yellow flag flies at some point.
Yeah, that is his only hope, that he gets a caution within the next 15-20 laps before Cozy Jr. and the rest of the leaders reach him. Because if they do not, then their strategy to try and use the extra set, thrown out the window, because they would have to hope that they're either the lucky dog driver or get the wave around both of them. So I don't know if this is going to end up working out for them. But you have to give a shout out to two of the guys up in the top 5 right now. Derek Paulson, now up to 3rd spot, in part with strategy, in part with some of the luck for the other drivers. And Matt Ridgway, who had technical issues after running the top 5 last week, he's up into the highest spot of the race for him today in 4th after struggling with the car in the first half of the race tonight.
Absolutely great job by Matt Ridgway. And yeah, recall last week at Kansas, used some tire strategy himself, much like Justin Bolton did here tonight earlier on, to get on fresher tires early, and absolutely flew to the front and led a good portion of that race before he found the outside wall and then suffered some technical issues there. But again, back up to the front here inside the top 5 in the 13. So nice job there. Derek Paulson up to 3rd. So the Loud Pedal Motorsports teammates of Ward and Paulson running 2nd and 3rd, all behind Michael Cozy Jr. And Ward is closing in ever so slightly, about 0.2 of a second, and closing down the front straightaway is Jeff Ward to Michael Cozy Jr.
But yeah, the Cozy Jr. is one always to keep our eyes on, with the lead here narrowly shrinking now. Jeff Ward looking stronger, so much better on the racetrack at the moment than Cozy has been. This could be a real change. Derek Paulson, quite a distance back from those two, but still relevant in this conversation. Ridgway as well looking good. Preet, he's bogged down in 8th place, and he's trying to find his way around here, but look at this. Even after being in the wall there, the 76 of Awuji is still strong. Preet is not looking like he has his groove right now.
No, not in his groove, and you know, again, with the older tires, he's got 88 laps on the tires, doing the best that he can, and you know, he thinks this stuff through, and he's one of the drivers I talked to before this race. Said he had a great feeling, said he had a good enjoyment of the Iowa Speedway, and was looking forward to putting on a show. I didn't ask him what his strategy necessarily was, but he did say that if he found himself in a position to take a big gamble and a big swing, he would certainly do it. And this seems to be that play right now, but if that caution flag doesn't fly for him, it's sunk. He's done. It's over. But again, falling back on 6 wins, it's not going to be a huge loss. He's going to lose some points to Jeff Ward if things don't go his way, once again, into the outside wall. But in the big picture, Justin, I think it's a calculated risk that has very low consequence for Spencer Preet.
Yeah, he does have the race wins, and while he's going to lose ground in the overall championship, if this does not work out, he does have that window and potential to still take the risk. He has kind of enough of a cushion. He'd still probably drop as low as potentially around, say, 15th maybe, and fall, say, down to 17 points back, let's say, around that range. But that's still a calculated risk. Still anything can happen, as the 66 is sent all around the front stretch, guys, after Cozy Jr. gave him a love tap after not moving out of the way, running that half pace in that car.
And it's been a struggle tonight for Arnold Thompson in the 66. Has been the subject of a few run-ins here and there. It had a few spins, and you can tell by the overall condition of that Ford Mustang. Some visits into the outside and the inside fence as well, but nonetheless running at a reduced pace, giving more room this time down the front straightaway to the leaders, so give him credit at least for that. But Justin Bolton holding on to 4th, tracking down Derek Paulson. That's the battle I'm watching here, as Ward holds about 3/10 back of Cozy. But Justin Bolton is on the move, trying to track down that 5 of Paulson as they work through 3 and 4.
Yeah, they really are, and that's something that's working well for him right now. And at the moment, not looking like it's going to be a big growth anytime soon, but he's definitely relevant in the picture. One thing I actually really wanted to bring up here is an abstract comment that a lot of people used to judge people by, and sometimes people bring up the iRating of races in League Series, and that's something that I often find doesn't really tell the whole truth. A lot of iRacers don't do well in the official series. They come to leagues, and that's where they grow and prosper. And, you know, it's one of the places where everyone has an equal footing. 5,000 iRating, 600 iRating, doesn't matter. It's one of those places where you have drivers who just are better than that number. They don't race in official series, therefore the number doesn't change. It's an arbitrary figure that doesn't really matter to people, and that's one of the things I love about leagues, is you get everybody from the greatest to the worst. The biggest number's the lowest. You know, you can have somebody with nothing prove themselves in a league, which, to be honest, I find to be some of the best environments for this sort of racing in the service. The league structure here at iRacing is honestly the very best, because you get that real knowledge of each other. You get that series feeling. This could be the Cup Series or Xfinity or the trucks. The drivers know each other, they know how they race. And to me, that's one of the biggest factors. You get people who know how the other car reacts. Right now, of course, looking down there at Ridgeway and Smith and Ridgeway have raced each other a lot, so they know exactly how they're going to behave, and that's one of the things they have to really work on focusing with. Where's he going to go? How does he react to this? This sort of series environment gives him that.
Well, it's their 13th week together if they've made every start so far, and that's more than enough time to get to learn the competition. And I agree, Rachel, 100% league racing is a special thing to behold, and when you can get guys together week after week like they do here in the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA, it really improves the overall product of racing that you see on a Thursday night. And this series has been very impressive in its own right, and that's a credit to the administrators and the drivers. You give them this much time to get together and run week after week, they get to know their tendencies, and really brings out the best in everybody. Regardless of iRating, you are taking everybody, dropping them into the same bucket, and saying go after it. Fixed setup, tire allotment rule, the best will come out on top, or the guy with the best strategy. And yeah, we've seen a couple multiple-time winners. Yeah, Spencer Preet has stunk up the show a few times here and there. He's already won 3 in a row, 6 on the season, but other guys have given a great run as well, and right now we're in a position, Justin, where we could be looking at a first-time winner in Michael Cozy Jr.
And I think it's a long time coming for Cozy Jr. because he's been competitive in a lot of races, but it's either been strategy situations that have backfired or how different races have come out. The closest he's gotten so far, I think, has been Kansas, where if it wasn't really for that kerfluffled first 30 laps and then that long run right to the finish the rest of the way, if there was an air caution that put everyone equalized back into strategy, he might have been the one coming away with the checkered flag. Still a lot to go here, though, because all it takes is one caution to bunch up the field. As speaking of strategies, guess who's in front of him? The first of the 2 drivers that are on those very old tires that have been hoping for a caution.
Yeah, Kyle Vincent Gilbert now will go a lap down, so that will say his ship is, in effect, sunk. But you know what? The next car to go a lap down is the other guy that tried to play that strategy. That's the 00 Spencer Preet. So Preet is looking up and praying as hard as he can to every deity that will listen, racing or otherwise, for a yellow flag right now. That's the only thing that is going to save him here as Michael Cozy Jr. continues to close in on the back bumper, the 00. The window is starting to close, Rachel, for him.
Absolutely is, and the window is going to be a difficult one for them to actually reach here, as just like corn, a race could turn very quickly. Sometimes you might have a great crop that's growing very well, but all of a sudden the weather turns, the season changes, temperature drops, and suddenly that crop's destroyed. It's exactly like a race.
Absolutely, that's a good one right there. I like that as well. And for Spencer Preet, it was a calculated risk. He knew what he was going to try and do. And it's not going to work out in this case unless something wacky happens right about now. He is going to succumb to going one lap down as Cozy Jr. walks by on the inside. Preet will fight him as hard as he can, but again, with 105-lap old tires, and he'll use that 66 as a pick. Absolutely smart move there. It's a battle that he can delay, but inevitably it's just a stay of execution as Cozy now back down to the inside and will work to put Preet a lap down.
There is the one hope is the lucky dog. So the 00 and 227 still at the race each other for that. The thing is, depending on how it's sorted out under the pace laps, they might have to start behind a lot of those drivers that are 1 lap down. That is the main downside. They will have the freshest tires in the field, yes, but they're going, I think right now, in the case of Preet, he's the one that would be the benefactor with a lucky dog situation. He's the one that needs to hope that there's a caution in these next few laps in hopes that he can be able to get himself back on that lead lap using the lucky dog. At this point now, though, Cozy Jr., he's starting to take himself over now for the long run, because I think he's been doing much better in the long run compared to Ward, especially what we've seen in practice before today's race, especially on corner exit to pull back away, knowing that they both have to use the bottom side the rest of this run potentially.
Well, I think at this point, Michael Cozy Jr. can, in effect, forget about Spencer Preet, forget about Kyle Vincent Gilbert, forget about Justin Bolton. All he has to do is focus on the 9 of Jeff Ward. That is his only competition for the win here at this stage of the race. And at the pace that he's going, he's going to put other cars a lap down like Zachary Sprung here shortly. And Spencer Preet cannot run as fast as Zachary Sprung. So Spencer Preet is also losing out on that window to get a lucky dog if the yellow flag should fly. Once the 21 goes a lap down, he's going to have to try and track him down, and that's just not something I think he has the pace to do.
I agree with you. I agree with you, and I think Rachel would say the exact same thing with the fresher tires. He needs this caution in the next 5 laps, 5 to 10 laps, or else this strategy is out the window. If the caution comes after that and runs that lucky dog or anyone else, it's race over.
Rachel, your thoughts there?
Well, he's in a good position right now because Bolton's about to pass him, but he's 2 laps down. So right now his nearest competitor is Mark Arthur, who's coming out of turn 2 now. And Preet's already coming out of 4, so he's got a good amount of lap time here. Now has a car to help him draft, which does even still matter here at Iowa. He's still relevant. He's got a lot of time. A caution is necessary, yes, to get him back into this argument. He needs those tires. He needs the closing up of the field, and he can have this thing in the back. No caution, no chance.
Yeah, I think that's the best concise summary right there for Spencer Preet. No caution, no dice, and that's really it. And you know, this is gonna, if nothing else changes and this goes green the rest of the way, this is going to be one of those rare situations where Spencer Preet gambled and he didn't come out smelling like roses. I think it might be the first time all season, and I bet you there isn't a driver in this field, JP, who would look at that and say, "Gosh, that's such a shame that Spencer Preet didn't have good luck here tonight."
Yeah. At this point, you got to be happy for drivers such as Cozy Jr. that's been up in the front most of the race. Guys like Chris Berg that hasn't made too many starts at 91 up towards the front today. Matt Ridgway after the issues last week and having a potential top 5 thrown at the window, potential top 10 this week. There's a lot of different feel-good stories, but Preet is out of fuel, it looks like. He is down into the pits. His strategy has reached midnight. He is not going to have the crystal ball head towards his way tonight.
Nope, and the field will give probably a collective hooray, knowing that they've defeated the mountain that is Spencer Preet in this series, at least for tonight. But again, Michael Cozy Jr., all he has to worry about is Jeff Ward, I should say, and getting through this lap traffic very carefully, as we're getting close to, well, we're inside of 30 laps at this point. And Spencer Preet completely missed his pit stall. And we'll get the tow back. So even going from bad to worse for Spencer Preet, that's going to be a wrap for him.
Yeah, it's looking like it will. In fact, I think he may have just called it there himself because right now he is, I'm taking a quick look here, still sat in the car. So, I mean, that tow backwards on pit road is actually a full tow. So that was almost him handing in the dice there. I mean, if he missed his box, he should have backed up rather than do that. But it's unfortunate there for him. It's been a strong race, but not strong enough. He went through the field so fast, but it's just not been able to hold out in the long run. That car has damage too, which really hasn't helped him. A few wall slaps really changed his race.
Yeah, big swing of momentum there, but we'll shift away from that and keep an eye up front as Michael Cozy Jr. now will work past the 21 of Zachary Sprung to put him a lap down. Jeff Ward still in hot pursuit, hanging around 3 to 4/10 of a second back from the 99. And Justin, you've had the opportunity now over the course of the past 3 or 4 weeks to see these guys in action, get a pretty good sense of things. Jeff Ward, what have you learned about him as a driver, and how do you think that sets him up to try and rob this win from Michael Cozy Jr.?
Thing is, I've also seen him in experiences such as series in the Cup cars back in 2016-17, around that range. But I know him as a driver to be one of those drivers that can fight as hard as possible. I think right now he's just trying to change up the lines and try and see what can work to close on up. What worked to gain him time before in the early portions of some of these runs has been on running the high line on exit. It takes 5 laps to get it to work, but it usually starts to work for about 5 laps, 6 to 15 when attempting it. He's the type of driver that is going to be very challenging to try and hold off for here on out, I think, to try and secure this victory if you are Cozy Jr., because this is where usually he turns on the light switch and tries to pull on away from here on out.
It makes a big move to the outside. Michael Cozy Jr. is struggling immensely to get off of turn 4. That has been his trouble spot here as of late, and that has allowed Jeff Ward to jump back in within shouting range here of that back bumper. Look at the 12. Huge run down into the corner. I don't think Jeff Ward expected that, as Mark Arthur will shoot through on the bottom on fresh tires. Cozy Jr. recognizes it and will jump up to the top as well and hope that he doesn't get run over by these guys on fresh tires. Here comes Ryan Wash as well. This is going to get tense here, Rachel. These guys have got to be supremely careful. They're 3 wide with Jeff Ward on the outside. Look out.
Yeah, they really are. Preet back out of the racetrack here as this race is getting very busy there. Cozy trying to find his way. Oh, contact there. Arthur gets tapped by the one. Taps the back of Cozy. So that must be very nerve-wracking for your race leader to be in that position here as... oh, the 9 tries to go through as well and catches a bit of the 25. Nearly got turned there by the 25, although it would have been the 9's fault. The 9 chasing down Cozy in traffic, and Ward has historically been the better guy in traffic necessarily than Cozy.
A lot of tense moments there as these guys on fresh tires are absolutely blowing their way through the field right now. Jeff Ward nearly getting some action there. Michael Cozy Jr. holding up the inside line with fresh tires there, and seemingly it'll all settle out for the most part, but these guys on fresh tires weren't given a whole lot of regard to the leaders. They got the pace. They expect the leaders to move, and I guess that's rightfully so, Justin. I mean, on older tires, you got to be careful. You are the leader. You have to take care of your race. It's, I guess, 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah, you can't just say, okay, car, go right ahead on the inside line, because the second you leave that line open, Jeff Ward or another driver for position will dive right on in and try and fill that hole right behind the driver with fresh tires. Though it's hard to manage that with the different tire management. Look at Ward. He has to drive his way by Awuji. So this could come down to where lap factor may become a factor if they stay bunched up like this. Afterwards, it's about clean air for now, but they still have 1 or 2 more potential cars they might reach before this checker flag. Anything can happen, and now this might, I think, have helped Ward more so than Cozy Jr. because of how much Cozy Jr. might have burned up the tires trying to get around some of these drivers.
Yeah, really interesting there to see how that goes. Jeff Ward trying to track him down as he has for much of this race. Doing a nice job, and you know he's got 3 wins to his credit as well. There's got to be no worse feeling if you're the driver of that 99 right now, knowing you've been chasing this elusive win. One of the biggest, or 2 of the biggest competitors are out of the way, and Bolton and Preet no longer a factor, but you still got number 9 sitting behind you there, and Jeff Ward, he's hungry. He wants a 4th win. Cozy Jr., if he can hold on to this thing, as we're inside 20 laps to go now, if he can hold on to this thing, he's going to be a very relieved and very happy race car driver.
Absolutely is, and this could be something that can happen today, and I'm honestly super excited to see a first-time winner here, or a new winner, I should say, in this race, and to see Cozy and Jeff have the opportunity is huge here. Preet just lost his chance. He had a good shot, but these guys have just been better, honestly.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think as rare as it's been, Preet wasn't the best pace, overall pace here tonight. I think Michael Cozy Jr. Has been on it, and Jeff Ward has been right there with him. And Justin, you talked about it at the top of the show, even before we went on the air, that Michael Cozy Jr. seemingly just had this thing figured out, had better pace, was fast from the get-go, and was just really, really good. But he has got to contend with Jeff Ward, as Ward will peek to the inside now in 3 and 4. Classic side-by-side battle here all the way around. Cozy Jr. should win out with the momentum as he does, but Cozy Jr., very inspired drive.
A very inspired drive. I remember saying before everything was all set to go while they were practicing that I felt like he was in another world. While the times were close at the top of the board, I should say, in practice. He was one of the main drivers that was able to get a full, really a near full run, or at least 20 plus laps, with the track to prepare for tonight's race, at least during the warm-ups for tonight. So he had the preparation. He had the confidence, he had the fast lap time in qualifying to give him the track position, and he's been able to play the right lines and make Ward at times run Cozy's race, rather than Ward making Cozy run Ward's race, if that makes sense. It's just played the way it's needed to. He just has to keep it clean and make sure he doesn't tap the walls, and hope to goodness sakes there isn't a caution.
He is definitely going to have to earn it if he's going to get that first win here tonight at the Iowa Speedway. This is setting up to be another classic finish here in this series. Jeff Ward seems to be working that top side really well. Gets a great run as he'll dive down low, down the front straightaway into turn 1. Hasn't worked out for him just yet to try and make that pass on the inside. But it seems to be that 9 just gets off the corners better on the high side than the 99. Center of the corner off, that's what I'm seeing, Rachel, is Jeff Ward is able to just roll around at the top and stand on it. Gets great runs down these straightaways, but by the time he gets up to the 99, he can't really go anywhere with it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's unfortunately hurting him right now because he looks here at the inside turn 2. Or turn 1, sorry, has a real opportunity now, but the wider angles giving Cozy the better defensive line here, and he just gives him the good run off the corner, which completely nullifies the advantage there that Ward has. So, great into the corner, not through it. It's the line Cozy Jr. is taking is what giving him the advantage to hold these positions.
10 laps to go this time by Michael Cozy Jr. hunting down his first win of the season. Jeff Ward looking for number 4. It has been these two going at it tooth and nail over the course of these 218 laps up to this point. Who will prevail? We'll find out here shortly, but for now, Cozy Jr. continues to hold on to it, running that lower lane. Jeff Ward certainly likes it up top, but Cozy Jr. will stretch it out just ever so slightly down the front straightaway. And Justin, Jeff Ward has been the master of setting up these dramatic late race passes. At this point, what's he going to have to do to set up one more to try and get a checkered flag?
Well, he's got to do 2 things. 1, run the high line. That's what he's trying to drift towards. 2, quickly allow Preet to go on by because he's coming right on a charge right behind the leaders now. And there's also a 3rd. Fred Thompson is up there in lap traffic. If he can use him as a pick, or if Cozy Jr. can get held up just a tiny touch, have to get out of the gas, Ward could potentially make his move right there to make pass. It's just going to come down to, can he get the high side to work, and can he use the lap traffic in front and behind to his advantage in these next few moments. Lap 221 out of 227.
You better believe Michael Cozy Jr. is going to make that 99 as wide as he can to keep Jeff Ward behind him. And I think the lap cars got the message that these guys are coming through. And I don't think Spencer Preet's going to do anything to get up into the way there. I think he's happy just riding behind these two and getting quite possibly the best seat in the house to this battle for the lead as Jeff Ward once again rolling the top side. But again, Rachel, he gets down to turn 1, nowhere to go with it.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate to this situation that it's just going to run dry like that. But he's pushed well, and it's honestly been a masterclass by Cozy in terms of line choice and just overall performance. He's had the best car all day long, and it's just worked well. But look at that, double zeros there. Fresh tires means something, but he will unlap himself. But unfortunately, it won't be enough.
Yeah, I don't think he's even going to jump up there to try and unlap himself. I think he's happy to watch these two battle as they've been two of his stiffest competition this entire season. And he knows he's out of it, and he doesn't want to do anything to upset this battle for the lead. I think he likes his perspective, Justin, watching these two guys, the two different lanes that they're working. Cozy down low in 3 and 4, Jeff Ward up running against the wall. But every time he gets that run down the front straightaway, Jeff Ward gets down into 1, it just peters out.
Yeah, just keeps on getting to where Ward is better on the exit of 4 as goes to that high line, but because Cozy Jr. is diving on up and essentially parking the bus, Ward can't just dive it on in and send it into the inside. That will end up spinning both of them out if they make contact. There's not enough space. They got 3 laps to work with, and Preet, it looks like, might start to push just a little bit more here. Remember, he is teammates with Cozy Jr. up at the front.
I don't see that playing in. I really don't. I don't think Preet will do anything to affect or influence the outcome of this race. But here comes Jeff Ward. Gets a nice run off the corner there. Nothing going. 2 laps to go this time by, Rachel. If Jeff Ward's going to get it done, he's got to make that move soon.
Yeah, he really does. And Ward is going to try his best, but I don't think he's going to have enough. There's only maybe 6 laps to go across the line, but he's just not looking like he's in the right position to do this thing. It's looking strong for Cozy.
Going to be white flag in the air one more time around for Michael Cozy Jr. A win is in sight if he can hold off one of the best in the business in Jeff Ward, the number 9. One more peek down low through 1 and 2. Nothing doing. Set it up for one last attempt. Do we see the big send? Here he comes. Down on the bottom side. Look at Matt Ridgway acting as a pick. Will it play into it? Here comes Jeff Ward up the track. Contact made with Cozy Jr. Around goes the 99. And to victory lane will go the number 9 of Jeff Ward in dramatic fashion.
He will, yes, at the moment, because unfortunately no one else is going to be close enough to compete here with no caution coming out there, but absolutely unfortunate for him. It's just unbelievable.
And I kind of seen this potentially happening. Ward knew the only chance with that you see here was to send it in hard in the final entry of turn 3. And when you want to fight for a race, when you have to risk this, you can't back out of the gas. If he backed out of the gas, Cozy Jr. would get the win. Ward did not back out. Cozy Jr. tried to pinch him down. They make the contact, and Cozy Jr. just can't keep it straight. Ward able to use him to straighten it out, taking the checker flag in dramatic fashion. But sometimes that's how you have to try and battle for those race wins. Could be somewhat controversial, but a heck of a finish to this tonight's race.
Controversy, drama will reign supreme over this one, no doubt about that. We'll come back to recap all the action here as Jeff Ward takes his 4th win of the season unofficially. You've been watching the Ghostface Brewing 199 here on LSRTV. Stick around, post-race show coming up next after this.
Here's a couple reviews from real customers. Joseph S. says,
"This is the perfect bar of soap. It's like it was handcrafted in the Northwest Forest by beautiful tiny elves."
"Oh, tiny elves isn't enough for you? Well, here's another review from Michael A.
"It makes you feel like you just stepped out of a mountain stream, and Squatch was there to hand you the towel."
Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. You want to smell like the forest? Boom, pine tar, we've got you. You want to smell like the sea? Boom, nautical sage, we've got you. You want to smell like you just got off a boat in the Caribbean? Boom, bay rum, we've got you. And with 6 more cents, we've got you covered no matter what kind of man you are. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. No. Turn your shower game up to 11. With the smooth lather of gold moss or the exfoliating woodsy bliss that is pine tar. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Back live at the Iowa Speedway. The Ghostface Brewing 199 is in the books, and what a race it was. Let's take this opportunity to look at your LSRTV unofficial results. Jeff Ward will be scored as the winner here tonight with the contact there in turns 3 and 4 with Michael Cozy Jr. Puts him out front when they got back to the line. Michael Cozy Jr., a disappointing second-place finish. Derek Paulson will put it up on the podium. He'll come home in 3rd. Chris Berg, great run all night long, will get 4th. Mike Montesi rounds out the top 5. Jonathan Smith in 6th. Matt Ridgway, last car on the lead lap there, in 7th. Zachary Sprung, 8th. Aiden Patterson in 9th. And Justin Bolton will round out the top 10.
P11 Carl Vincent Gilbert tonight with Jesse Iwuji in 12th. Jacob Sayers, David Netzel, Doug Johnson, 15th place, with Ryan Wash, Mark Arthur, Wally Wilson, Brian McRae, and Jason Anderson in 20th.
In the 21st spot, John Johnson, followed by Fred Thompson. Jason Taylor finished 3 laps down. In 4 laps down, Ashton Schliss. Taylor Butcher Benjamin had very bad luck strategy-wise tonight, also finished 4 laps down. With Spencer Preet, usually the king of strategy recent weeks, snapping his 3-race winning streak tonight. 5 laps down, 26th. Gonna lose a lot of points in the overall standings. Arnold Thompson finishes with a DNF, blowing up in the final few laps, 42 laps down. Jay Graves Jr., a DNF, 68 laps down, 28th. Steve Ritter, DNF, 90 laps down in 29th. And Mark Going only running single in just above double-digit laps tonight, 30th, 205 laps down tonight.
Last bit of look at the unofficial results, and well, let's take the opportunity to talk to the winner here tonight. I'm sure he's going to have an interesting take on the events that took place there in 3 and 4 on the last lap. But for the 4th time here this season, Jeff Ward gets the checkered flag. And Jeff, this could be considered a controversial finish. Give us from what you saw there in your driver's seat in the closing moments of this race.
Yeah, David, that's I feel bad about that. That's not the way I want to end that race. We finally put everything together, had the right strategy. Probably had the better car there at the end, and then he left the door open going into 3, so I figured I'd stick it on the bottom, and maybe that lapper would kind of act as a pick on the high side. And I knew that we were going to touch, but if you go in my car, you can even hear me let out the gas and turn to get away from him. And unfortunately, it was just enough to get him spinning there, and he wasn't able to hold on to it. But I meant for us to bump, battle going to the line. I definitely didn't mean to turn the guy. He's pretty pissed off at me, and he's got a right to be. But racing for a championship here, man, I had to go for it there. It's so hard to pass here. It's pretty frustrating when you get a run, can't do nothing with it. So gave it one last-ditch effort there, and made a mistake, it looks like. I mean, he was holding me pretty close on the bottom there. I didn't have much room to come up off the corner, but I looked at the replay, and it's still my fault.
Owning up to it as any respectable driver would. And Jeff, you're certainly known for a lot of things this season, good racing form and wins, and clean driving for the most part there as well. So I don't think anyone could say that it was anything intentional, just hard racing on the short track. And when you get down into it, you know you're chasing a guy and you think you're faster than him. At what point, how many laps to go did you start thinking about what the move was going to be if you're going to try and get the checkered flag here tonight?
Well, I was trying to run that high line and not turn the wheel, as much, trying to save the tires. And he got out to about, 3/4 of a second away from me. And there's about 20 laps to go. I figured it was time to try to get back up, see if I could make something happen. We were coming into lap traffic, and usually that's a good opportunity to try to gain some track time back. So yeah, we just trying to kind of save there. Of course, I had left side damage from early in the race that didn't help too much. Never got a chance to fix that. But no excuses, man. I'm trying to find a way to be happy about this, but that's stuck on my mind about what happened there in the last lap.
And considering what we saw here tonight with Spencer Preet and his strategy not working out, finishing way down in the running order, did that have anything to do with the way you were attacking Michael Cozy Jr. there in the closing laps, knowing that you had the opportunity to pick up a lot of points on him?
I didn't know Spencer was that far down in the standings till after the race, and I looked at it. I thought he was in the top 10 somewhere. So, no, I was just going for the win. If I had known that I was going to gain that many points in the championship tonight, I may have raced a little more conservatively there. But we're out here to win, and that's what we try to do there. I mean, we got the win if we don't get disqualified, but we'll take it for now, I guess.
All right, Jeff, I'll give you the opportunity to say hello to friends, family, sponsors, and everyone else who helps you in that number 9 get the checkered flag.
Yeah, thanks to Loud Pedal Motorsports, Derek Poulsen, my teammate. Thanks to you guys at LSRTV for doing the broadcast. Thanks to Dr. Squatch. Thanks to just friends and family, and again, just apologies to Michael.
Humble driver Jeff Ward in the number 9 tonight. Also picked up $15 if it sticks for your efforts for winning here as well. We'll see you next week at Texas.
All right, thanks, guys.
I think pretty easy to hear a lot of emotions in his voice there for Jeff Ward, knowing that the win came with some controversy. But Rachel, looks like we'll pick up Michael Cozy Jr. and hear his thoughts for the second place finish.
We certainly will. Michael Cozy Jr. joining us tonight from second place on the start, second place at the end. Michael, dominating performance this race. I think there's only one question we really want to talk about at this point in the interview, and I'm sure you don't want to, but it's the benefit of being the interviewer. The end of that race. Tell us from your perspective.
Is that the right button there? Well, I did everything I needed to do. I held my line. He saw the rest. Nothing else I can do.
So can I take it from that you believe it is a controversial finish, that it wasn't sporting, that last lap, last corner, all's fair, love and war, rubbing is racing, it was uncalled for?
Well, I mean, one of us held their line, one of us didn't. So, I mean, take it for what you will. But, I mean, where I come from, we try to stay in our lanes and race to the finish. So, you know, that's whatever.
With that in mind, of course, second place tonight is still great points for you, of course, in your overall standings. Where does this leave your championship?
Nah, points don't matter. I'm like 100,000 points out of it. Doesn't matter. I'm just going for wins. And so I guess it's even worse. I don't give a damn about second or third or fourth, fifth, sixth. It doesn't matter. I just want to win, and I got it taken away from me. So.
Well, there you go. Still, second place, a fantastic result tonight. Anybody like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I gotta thank my primaries, Indie Racing Images. Couldn't do without them, and this huge list. I'm about ready to. All these guys are in the chat, showing me love and supporting me. So, from bottom to the top, shout out to first and foremost my man Newton, who is now a 1-year sponsor on the car. So, we got a couple getting really close, but shout out to him, Hunter, Spencer Pretty, my teammate tonight, Cameron Kane, Tyler Diggin, Nasdude. What If Racing, Matthew Hibbard, Motorsports Games, Ziegler, Miss Craft, Band for Days, Steve Goodwin, Red Falcon, Robbie Rock, Brett Ellison, Moonhead, Jonathan British, Casey Wood, Patrick Starr, JPL, Project Vash, Dennis, Jarrett, Sloom, Brett, the Random Duo, and just like 10 minutes ago, hopped on board Mark Eckstein. So I wanted to win it so bad for those guys, and we'll get one way or another. That's for damn sure.
Certainly will. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Michael Cozy Jr. An unfortunate result there at the end, but next week's always a new race.
There you go, Justin Prince. We'll head over to you. You'll pick up third place finisher here tonight, Mr. Derek Paulson.
Yes, Derek Paulson joined us in the broadcast booth here, coming away third after starting 26th. How do you feel about coming away with the top 3 after, for parts of the race, getting caught up in traffic and getting damage to your 5 car?
I feel lucky. I had internet trouble this evening. I didn't qualify, didn't get really any practice, was messing with my computer. I just wanted to start the race. I told race control to keep an eye on me in case I started having problems. I just wanted to get a couple laps in to just get some type of points. Didn't expect to do anything. So I'm pretty tickled right now.
That sounds like it for sure as well. As the race went on and as you got more comfortable in the track, what kind of changes were you making to where you were getting to become really essentially, especially that final run, a top 3 car, with a solid pace overall, and kept it in front of Chris Berg to come away with that 3rd spot? What kind of changes were you making as the race went on to how you were driving the track with that limited practice time?
Well, the more laps I got in, the more comfortable I got. I threw down the rear brake bias as much as I could. You only can adjust so much in the car. I did not have enough because I didn't have enough practice in. So I was really plowing in 1 and 2, and there in that long run, there at the end, I told him, I said, boy, I mean, you killed me in 1 and 2. I just couldn't turn the car. There's just, it's like, but 3 and 4, I was pretty decent at, you know, and it's hard to pass when it's so tight here. And so I just got lucky. It was good racing there at the end. I feel fortunate, very fortunate to come home third.
What's the plan to try and carry the momentum off to Texas? And how do you feel about Texas, of course? Different from a short track, obviously, going back to it a 1.5 miles.
I've had pretty good luck with the 1.5 miles here and in SESRA this season, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. You know, you just find your line. You know, I just drive my race. I'm kind of a poor qualifier, but when the race starts, I seem to pick them off one by one and enjoy doing it.
And we'll see if you can do that again next week in your American Pool Supply number 5 car. Anyone you want to thank before he lets you go here tonight?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Loud Pedal Motorsports there, my team, and Jeff Ward tonight. I know he was pretty down on winning the race. I felt bad for him about that. Got to give a shout out to American Pool Supply and Billy Tungate for allowing me to race with them on my car this season. Got to give a shout out to my wife and my kid for allowing me to race and do what I like to do. And I just want to thank LSRTV for the broadcast. You always do a fantastic job, and SESRA and the admins for putting on a great league.
And thank you very much for the time. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish. Derek Paulson finishing 3rd tonight.
All right, that'll wrap up the top 3 interviews. And Justin, obvious to hear the emotion from both sides of that run in there on the last lap. Jeff Ward obviously feeling pretty down and didn't like the way that it went and mean to get into Michael Cozy Jr. And then just as sharply on the contrast there, Michael Cozy Jr. made it very obvious how he felt about that.
Yeah, the question is it going to carry on forward? Because you can't, I think the best thing is, of course, to take a deep breath and think about a big picture. I can definitely understand why Ward would feel bad about that situation by far, and I can see why people have obviously would say how controversial it is, but sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, you don't think about things such as, okay, this guy's about to win his first race, should I give space? Sometimes you're just focused on getting to the checker flag, and sometimes that over-aggression leads to those kind of situations, and now we'll have to see what comes up from it. I think the smart thing, though, is to try and move on. If you let it carry on and let it to where you block give a block or whatnot, similar to a NASCAR Heat 3 rival system, I don't think that's going to end well. I think it's the smart thing is take a deep breath, come back next week with a fresh mind, and just go from there.
Speaking of next week, next Thursday night, January 17th, the series will move on to the Texas Motor Speedway for the Lone Star 200. Will the rivalry continue of Ward v. Cozy, or will there be another storyline that plays out there? For now, Jeff Ward is the winner, his 4th on the season, and makes up a bunch of points on Spencer Preet. But that'll wrap things up for us here from Iowa. So we'll say big thanks to you for tuning in, making us a part of your evening. Big thanks to our producer, Brett Wheeler, doing a great job bringing you all the action here tonight. For Rachel Whiteford, for Justin Prince, I'm David Schildhouse, saying congratulations to Jeff Ward, and we will see you next week from the Lone Star State. Good night, everybody.
During the First World War, big soap started taking out all the natural ingredients to make production cheaper and faster. And they replaced all the natural stuff with chemicals. Chemicals like sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, and dioxane. Chemicals linked to depression, liver damage, cancer, and low sperm count. And worst of all, dry skin. Oh, your poor balls, all dry, empty, and sad. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. Listen up, the soap you shower with, it's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. They're still using whatever bar their mommy bought for her little man. Is that what you want? To smell like mama's little man? Ugh. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. Or don't, and continue to be mommy's little helper.
The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.